Good morning and welcome to the Morning Connection. This is your host, Minette Lawrence, coming to you live from the Ligony Club where we do our free-flowing Thursdays. Yes, I know on Thursdays you miss the call-in part of the program, but it's very important that we have at least one day when we are outdoors, for our mental health. So good morning to all those who have joined us online and on air. We are delighted to have you with us. It's a bit of an overcast morning, but I'm thinking it could be some of that African dust. Well, we did say we desire a closer connection to Africa, so we can't be too surprised if the dust gets here first. But when the dust settles, as they always say, we expect good things. Good morning to the crew back at the studio. Raphael, thank you for being so on time. And those who are with us here at the Ligony Club. Morning, Mr. Producer. Good morning. And Eden, good morning to you. We're waiting on Pastor Percival to arrive. I trust all is well with him. He is quite the multitasker. He does daddy duties, pastor duties, broadcaster duties, and the Lord knows what else he has to cover. So when he gets here, of course, it is Minette and Percival entertaining you, teaching, sharing, and hopefully being of some use to you in the mornings. It is one of the pleasures of our day, and perhaps also a really great honor to spend the morning speaking with and being of service to our Best FM family members. 4 days of the week, Monday to Thursday, so I still cannot believe how quickly Thursday comes around. But it's Thursday, and for us, Thursday is the new Friday. So I'm happy for the weekend. If you've been listening and watching all week, I've been wearing a hat and nursing my voice. I'm not sure what's going on with the voice, but it's been under a little bit of pressure. So thanks to our hero, Tony Shaw, who also has an apiary. Did I get it right? Yes, bee keeps bees. I get some very good chocolate syrup tasting honey to keep my voice in good order. So I'm kind of speaking softly and just making sure that I don't put too much pressure on my voice. Pastor is just about at his chair. All right. I don't want to go too far before he sits down because we're usually in sync on how we want to set your orientation for the day. One thing I know, a lot of the issues that have been topical since Monday, we need to wrap them up this morning. Uppermost in our minds, of course, our Senator Kamina Johnson is speaking up quite confidently in today's paper, even as the Antigua PM hints that Africa's own ambitions, there it is, Africa again, could wreck Kamina's bid. And it is the politics of it now. Africa was scheduled to take the leadership of the Commonwealth in the next rotation. Patricia Scotland has 2 more years, 18 months to go on her second 4-year stint. An election at this time would disrupt the cycle and the rotation. It means Jamaica would now be inserting herself ahead of Africa. And Kamina would she's not going to get an 18-month stint. They don't have that. She would have a 4-year stint. And perhaps the precedent or the convention of allowing the incumbent to do 2 terms so that, whatever plans could be well implemented over an 8-year span of time instead of 4 years. That could very well become a thing of the past by reason of Jamaica's break in tradition by offering a candidate midstream of the incumbent's second term. So there's the politics of the situation. And Antigua PM Prime Minister Gaston Brown is hinting that rather than allow that pattern to be broken, Africa may well vote solidly behind Patricia Scotland so that Jamaica would not disrupt the schedule, and Africa would have leadership of the Commonwealth. 54 members of the Commonwealth. I think, how many African nations? I've forgotten the broken out. I know the CARICOM has about 19 votes, but the rest of the votes are up for grabs. And listen, no matter how big India and the UK and Australia are, they still only have one vote. The power they have is when they suspend funding, then that's a chunk out of your cash flow. And they suspended funding to pressure Patricia Scotland out of the job. All right, so that is international politics, but I always look for the principles which we employ as we work our way through those things. Unity is an important principle, loyalty is an important principle, and integrity, meaning you keep your word when you give it, and so on. Those principles are never unseated. Good morning, Pastor. What say you? Do we ever act in a disloyal, disingenuous or way that is lacking in integrity? Is there a time for us to abandon those principles?
It's always dependent. Good morning, everybody. It's always dependent on what is the overriding thing. But I never do things because of expediency. Because one of the principles I've learned in my life.
And I hate to catch you so early, so I'm going to give you an opportunity to correct that. You're saying, depending on the circumstances, one can abandon principles of loyalty, fidelity, and integrity.
Is that what you remember? We've been talking about some of the things that we've seen coming out of scripture. But I'm saying,
no, but you never abandon those principles.
But that's not this. Let me try and say no, because I'm saying.
No, me just said try and make sure you don't.
No, man, that's all right. Maybe you have to take the licks them.
All right, carry on then.
Yes, what
you're gonna tell me when.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, in every situation that you find yourself, you must always ask yourself, what is the principle here? Because principles go across everything that happens. It cannot be what is expedient in the moment. So what is the principle that is guiding you? So you've spoken about the principles of integrity and all of which are principles that cut across every circumstance that you find yourself in. So I'm in agreement with what you have said. But there's a other side when some people say, like I show the principle, I'm just doing anything I feel that is expedient. So I'm in agreement with you in regards to what you said.
Okay, so we'll abandon the depending on the circumstances.
Yeah, because that's what some people tell me all the time, because that is what you call situational ethics. Yes.
And we speak against it.
Yeah. So we're not doing that. And that is...
honesty is indivisible.
Yeah.
You're either an honest person or you're not. Not honest on Sundays, but do what you feel like for the rest of the week.
But another thing that jumps out of what you've asked, I think we've had a similar discussion when we were talking about, I'm trying to remember what it was. Yeah, it will come back to me momentarily, but we see that we're getting another perspective to what happened in the classroom. Ripped the nation.
Says he acted in self-defense?
Yes.
Yes, I saved that one for you.
No, save that for me. But I said self-defense.
Okay, then I saved it for us.
Yeah, save it for all of us. Because that is what some people had said, but you had said in terms of speaking about it, that a very important thing is what we see happening is a course that we have set for the young people in our nation. So we have to take a major responsibility for what it is. And so, but I just read the story. I was coming down, I was reading the story online, and to me, there seems to be some hole in what the young man is saying in terms of the explanation. So, I guess the truth will come out in terms of what actually transpired in the classroom, in terms of why I was there. I'm saying, I wasn't supposed to be there, and I just went in lunchtime to go buy a sweetie from a friend. You can't be buying sweetie when the teacher in the classroom. That's what he said.
And that's your greatest concern?
My greatest concern.
That his reason for being in the classroom is insubstantial.
Yeah, not supposed to be in the classroom, but what's this class?
But the moment he admits that he knows he's not supposed to be there, the reason becomes irrelevant.
Okay, what reason?
No, I said the moment he admits that he knew he was not supposed to be there, the reason that he gives for being there is irrelevant. Because you know you're not supposed to be there. So any reason that you give is...
It makes no sense.
No,
That's why I was saying there are holes in terms of what you're saying. But
that's not a hole. A hole would be if he said nothing.
Oh, I see. So they said.
He said something and he said something.
Yeah.
He had no business to be there, but we saw him fully dressed in uniform and he's not supposed to be at school. So this is a child who obviously either his parents don't know, maybe his parents don't know he's been suspended.
Yes.
Which begs the question, how does a school send home a child without having called in the parent to say, listen, your son has transgressed in this way or other. He is being suspended from school, but being suspended doesn't mean that he shouldn't do his work, and these are the rules. School and home should be on the same page.
Yeah, but I tell you something,
And I'm not saying they didn't try all those things. Because I don't know the background. I'm back to the point of adults needing to take responsibility for the weaknesses in the system that end up with children being on the wrong side.
Those are the principles that would guide us. But having been in situations, sitting on school boards in high school, I remember that you come to school. The assumption is that you're under the care of somebody, a guardian, a parent. In situations like that, you send home a letter with the student and says, please tell your mother to come in. Yes, and invariably, you say, but hold on, this boy is still in school. Doesn't he know that he's supposed to come with his parents? Now, most high schools have a dean of discipline who monitor those situations. And I recalled in one of my sojourns, the dean of discipline and I had to kind of intervene because this boy come on the school compound. He's not supposed to be there. The security knows. And you'd find a way. That campus was a big one, so you have the main entrances, but so the boys would have found alternative paths that would get onto the compound. I said, but you're not supposed to be here. Where's the parent? You send home, you're calling the parents, you're not getting through. They give you a number that you're supposed to contact them at. You do that, the parent not responding. So even though I know a lot of schools reach out to parents and say you need to come, even before they suspend the person, the parent not coming.
Are you defending something here, or you're just...
I'm just
describing?
I'm just describing.
Okay, because
I'm not defending anything.
Yeah,
because remember I said the principle is that the school and the parents supposed to be working. And that is the principle that is there. But some of the times you try to get a hold of parents. I know for a fact.
First of all,
when the
government says
yes,
they have millions of dollars left in a fund which they put together to try and find students.
Yes.
So when it is of priority to us, we make the effort to go to the homes and to do the kind of intervention that is needed. It is time. I don't even think it's not a finger pointing exercise we're going through, you and I, right now. You are describing what exists. What exists is in a particular situation or condition because of lack of the right application of effort by the stronger hand.
You call it the stronger hand? I'm calling
it the stronger hand because the Ministry of Education have the taxpayers' money. Education tax is not a small tax. Ministry of Education, you have taxpayers' money to put the strategies in place to get it right. They have experts, they have available to them every level of expertise to address the different problems from psychosocial to actually, curriculum-related problems. We just need now to focus our efforts on getting it right. That young man, his mother sells at the she has a food stall in Coronation Market. She is the one who is saying what me understand from the video is I say to myself, it look like teacher is the aggressor. If a student go into your class giving you trouble, you're supposed to go to the principal or even the dean or security guard and get him out of the class. She also holds her son responsible that he should have exited the classroom on receipt of the first instruction. The mother is saying way more sensible things than what come out of police, Ministry of Education, and what little may have come out of the school. We've got the signal for the break. Let's pick it up when we come back, please.
No problem.
All right, thank you. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Morning Connection. Your host, Minette and Percival, are here at the Ligani Club. It's free-flowing Thursday, and we're very happy to be outdoors.
I really hope in this instant that the truth comes out in terms of what transpired, in terms of what really happened in that instance. You know why I'm saying it? Because yesterday, as we close, I was speaking about certain narratives that they wanted to put out there. And in all of what happens, the truth is lost. Because remember, you know, I yesterday I said when we raised it first, they said he was suspended from school. Somebody was selling marijuana to the students and all of that. Now his mother is saying him is a.
All right, let me read what his mother says.
Yeah.
She said his behavior was out of character and that he did not have a record of misconduct. I'm telling you, he's a bright student and we never have no problem with him at school. Them never send call me about him say him a misbehave or whatever. This would have been his first dispute of this nature, his mother has claimed. 16-year-old still has aspirations of becoming a soldier like his 22-year-old brother, who has reportedly urged him to conduct himself with decorum.
Yeah, and it raises a question.
We've been saying here, how could he be suspended from school? Because that was a report.
That came out.
And nothing in any of these articles suggests that he was suspended. He was dressed in full uniform and appeared to be properly at school.
Yeah.
So clearly, there's been some inaccurate information surrounding it, and we've got to
we have to
separate truth from fiction.
Yeah, because talking about and just this is not talking from hearsay in terms of having known a student who was suspended. The security knew about him, but he couldn't come through the main gate of the school.
So we're talking about now from your past.
Yeah. And he couldn't come through the school, but his main thing, he leave home dressed in uniform, suspended, but his main intention was wanting to peddle stuff on the campus. So you give him your order. He had been suspended because he was peddling and other things. And then
so he's a businessman at school.
He was a real entrepreneur. And when his mother was called, she said, but him leave here every day, dress up and I go to school. So we said to him, Mommy, I never know. Say him suspended or we've been trying to get a hold of you. She said no, she was shocked. So by the times, so I'm saying we need to get to the truth of what has happened. But there are some principles I think that you have outlined which are clear. There is responsibility for the adults in the situation to understand you have the authority and behave like you have the authority. Don't get into altercations with students and so on, because at the end of it, they're going to say you are the adult, that there's an expectation that you must behave as an adult. Obviously, if what we're saying is true, the systems are not working within the school system. And so, as you pointed out a while ago, a lot more resources need to be put in place so that what you say the policy is, it is actually enacted on the ground. So, and granted, I must say now, our teachers are, in the defense of teachers, our teachers are under serious stress, because what has happened, there has been such a great breakdown in terms of what's happening at home, and the responsibility has been shifted to the teachers to become everything except having to actually teach what they're
hired to do.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't if you were to read between the lines of what this mother is saying, this may have some other elements. I'm not the least bit distracted by the fact that she's a fruit vendor in Coronation Market.
That don't say anything to me.
But a lady who is speaking about her child in some very clear way in terms of how his character. And this is a skillfully written article because it manages to weave into it that he has a brother who is a soldier. So there is the hint that there is some discipline and ambition in the family network, and that this child is not just doing as he feels. His thought process too, if you read the article, when he says the teacher threw a bag at him and he was thinking, did the teacher really throw a bag at me? I'm gonna do anything, and he throws it back. There is some sort of insight into character and behaviors when you read the article. But what's clear to me is that at this moment, the student is standing taller than the teacher.
You've not heard anything from the teacher.
When you came in and I, kind of put you under the gun with this question about, is there ever a time when you abandon principles? And you quite rightly said that in every situation, identify the principle. Sometimes the principle will hide underneath some, distracting details, and you have to tease it out to really understand what you're dealing with and what your position ought to be. For this one, we're dealing with discipline, and we're dealing with relationship, and we're dealing with parties who stand in unequal stature, meaning the adult, the school system, the Ministry of Education that stands behind the high school which this child attended is more experienced, better resourced, and more skilled than the 16-year-old boy who is coming out of a family situation that we have some insight into now. So I am expecting the greater effort and the greater self-control and the more knowledgeable application of effort to come from the school. Would you agree? So if the principle is that the parent, the adult in the room, should maintain control and act like the adult, then at this point, the student is looking better because he has stepped forward, he has expressed remorse.
I'm not tried to speak to the teacher.
Well, it says, the article says that calls were not returned, and of course they've tried. They were on numerous calls made to Dean of Discipline Carmen Joseph, and the school's office went unanswered Wednesday. And I think when it was reported on the news, TV cameras were there trying to get comments and failed.
You don't remember a famous person in our country says, if you don't say anything, nobody can see you say. Because
yeah, but that so now again you have to look at the principle. Yeah. That is a principle against self-incrimination.
Well, it is.
Yes, silence. Yeah, maintaining your silence is to prevent you from being indicted or convicted on your own words.
Yeah,
so that means you're not nothing good to say.
I'm not sure about that.
When you have something good to say, you say it.
Remember,
and you bring clarity.
Remember Jesus was brought before the trial. What he says, he said, I said nothing. You remember that?
But words were said.
They said it, but you say it, not me. So
yes.
I said me said that.
Yes, but he spoke. He didn't maintain silence.
It 3 words himself.
Then it's still 3 words. Yeah. That's more than 0.
Yeah, you see what happened.
You don't have to be chatty. You don't have to be making long speeches like you and I are prone to do sometimes.
No more you are prone to.
You just need to say enough.
You have to say enough and shut up.
You just need to say enough.
I'd love to hear what what would have prompted her. As him said, Bello, get out of my classroom. A teacher only reaches that point in dealing with students when the student has been
Did you really say that a teacher only reached that point with the student? A teacher will reach that point because of the weight of pressure and harassment from countless other things. The last straw breaking the camel's back is not a meaningless statement.
You think that's probably what happened with her?
It is as probable an explanation as the one that you are regarding as inevitable.
Yes, which is what?
You said you wonder what he must have do for her to. Yeah. A teacher would only get to that point.
Yeah,
because of the student.
Because of the students, you know. Have you ever been in a classroom trying to teach it?
Once or twice, yes.
How was it for you?
I was not equal to the task.
Okay.
I knew it was me.
Yeah. It wasn't you. Meaning you.
No, I knew that I was not equal to the task.
Okay.
I didn't think it's the students. The students are there to learn.
Okay. All right.
When I look at, I did some long time ago tried to teach, I think it was principles of law or something to secretarial students. And of course, I was taught law as a law student. Being taught and understanding law as a law student is a different thing from teaching law to secretaries who are not going to practice law, don't need to know the concept, just need to be able to recognize the words and so on. But they had to do some kind of, but I was determined to teach them the concept.
that sounds like you mean it.
Yes, because I'm there to teach you the concept. Well, I can tell you, they were as resistant to the learning as I was committed to the teaching. So if I got half on one thing, the other half wandered off. And I was frustrated, no end of frustration. I felt like I had failed, and I did not do it for long. I gave up. Okay. I said, I'm not doing these students any justice. They come expecting one thing, and I could see I would use words, because in those days, it was very early in my time as I was maybe, yeah, it was, oh, wow.
That's such a long time ago.
No, I'm trying to remember if I'd gone to the BVI already. It might have been when I came back from the British Virgin Islands. So I had been in practice 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
Thereabouts. So, I was a little seasoned. Yes, I think when I came back to Jamaica, I wanted to do a variety of things to reintegrate. So I looked for opportunities to tutor and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
I had a strategy. And yes, and I got the opportunity to teach one of those secretarial, like business college. And I said, okay, so I'm one of the persons who can only teach bright students. That was my conclusion, because I was using words and I was communicating in a way that, so I know that teaching is a skill over and above knowledge of the content.
True.
I know that, and I know that acquiring the skill, precisely, acquiring the skill requires some formal training and years of practice.
Yeah, it's true. That's why you have master teachers and you go into different things.
Yeah,
and you say, but it's the same material, but how come this person gets it across
effortlessly, and another person struggling.
Like you hear, and I often hear this from students in the high school system. Teacher can't teach. I say, but you're rude. I respond to that. But you don't know anything. You can't say the teacher can't teach.
Because the best judges.
I think you understand.
If we're not learning.
And then go to another class with the same material and then come out like, wow.
Yes, wasn't that fun?
But yes, teacher.
So who's the best one to judge if a teacher can teach?
Student.
That's what I say. The funny thing is, maybe I was doing better than I thought, but I had set such a high standard for myself that when I wasn't hitting it, I said, this is frustrating for me.
Okay.
This is not. So I know that you can come to us like after the 10th student said they don't understand. And say you teach it the right. You teach the right thing.
No, you know.
And someone, I said, do you understand?
You explained it.
Yeah, and you said, do you understand? And you meet a blank thing. I can understand why some teachers will say, oh, Mr. Dunce. Because.
Did you say that to them?
Of course not.
Oh, my Lord.
Not. I'm just saying, I can understand why your personal frustration can be taken out on the student.
Yes.
And listen, I've heard many teachers call students dunce. A great motivation for me being in a class was to avoid being called dunce. Because I saw teachers denigrating others. I said, all right, 1 or 2, stay over there, so. Or the student tried to ask, and shush. Because they don't want a question derail the fragile understanding of the rest of the class, just as it looked like it catching. Somebody said, "What miss?" and you have to start all over, because those who thought they had it begin to question, how did I miss that?
Yeah.
So we know that it's not easy.
Yeah, so I can understand. So we've opened up another, what is it?
Can of worm.
I don't know if it's a worm.
Then we should go fishing.
Yes, but it's kind of interesting that we've raised it because people believe that teaching is an easy task. It's not. And I've discovered if you don't have a passion for what you're doing, in terms of learning your craft, I said to them, leave it alone. To a lot of people, it is just a stepping stone. And I know of teachers who, because a lot of my friends and person who are teachers, and they would say, you don't know, in order to present 45 minutes, the amount of work that you have to do in preparing that 45 minutes that you are clearly
that you're on the job.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's so much. And they say, as a teacher, if you are truly a teacher, you never stop preparing. It continues, and it takes so much out of them, which raises the question why people are saying our teachers need to be paid more, because you really cannot put a figure on in terms of the work they have to do outside of the classroom space in terms of preparing that our children are truly educated. So in all of what is happening, I lift my hat to many of our teachers who go beyond the call of duty to ensure that our students, our children, because you and I have children, and you speak highly of the person who's dealing with your son.
Oh Lord, she is my hero.
Yes, and so you understand it takes so much, you know. So,
And I tell you, there's nothing I wouldn't do to assist my son's school community. Nothing that's within my means I would withhold. They need every support, every encouragement. And you know why too? You make a point about loving what you do. It's not just loving what you do, it's loving the children.
yeah, that's an important thing.
Because when you see them as worthy human beings into which you are pouring something of value, you are always trying to reach them. You're always trying to
reach one that you don't. Everybody else get it, but that one, when you look, you see the blank expression on their face. No man, have to do above and
it becomes a personal challenge now to reach that one.
So even as we consider the Jamaica Teaching Council bill that was in Parliament, and the parents never made a representation, unfortunately, and I'm saying, oops, because the notice for them to have made it was sent in February, and they had sent out a press release with saying that, boy, it's kind of difficult consulting with 500,000 parents. That's what they were saying. Because the National Parent Teachers Association, remember you asked me about that?
Yeah.
In terms of how come they never made a representation, and they had indicated that, boy, this was too much of a task. But they must say something.
And you know what? There are many lawyers. There are some technical skills needed when you are reviewing and addressing some of these issues. But we forget, lawyers are parents.
Yes.
Or they are parents who are lawyers. Volunteer.
And if they had reached out, I could tell you that it would have happened. But anyway.
Yeah, it's not too late, you know.
It's not too late.
It's still not too late, because we have to learn to keep some efforts are ongoing efforts. There's no point when you close the chapter and say, oh well, the horse gone through the gate. No, we live in very prophetic times. The horse is always in the barn and going through the gate, all at the same time. You can, whatever place you desire him to be. Now, I saved this for you because I was just looking at some. I was looking at just grabbing some news reports, and I was struck by that gun find with the school bag of this Camperdown student.
Okay, that's not a
I think she's a 15-year-old girl. The police stopped a car, and when they stopped the car, a man fled.
She was a gun bag. It's a normal thing.
No, it could. In fact, my first thought was the man who ran from the car put the gun in the girl's bag.
You think?
That's my first thought because of how they described the chain of events. Anyway, the taxi driver and the student has been detained. No further word on it. I think that was from Monday, and it struck me that a fingerprint test, fingerprinting the weapon, and they should have allowed the police to already come out with a statement as to whether or not this girl has any connection to the gun. And what was on my mind, why I'm making the point, is that it seems to be an all too easy thing for us to place our young people in situations of disrepute, and it just seemed like nothing. It's an easy thing to arrest them, to put the name, well, not the name because she's a minor, her name is not there, but to publicize the story about it, and we don't come back quickly enough to say, you know. And because I'm dealing with a situation where an adult man has carried a taint of this been called an adverse trace, and the things they're talking about are things that took place in his 20s, and he's now in his 60s. Because I'm seeing that, I'm recognizing that we have a way of not being mindful that people have a future. And when you see something, if it is small, if it whatever it is, address it as quickly as possible and start to do the repair work. Because I'm reasonably sure that, you know how I think, I'm reasonably sure that that man who ran from the car left the weapon.
I put it in the young lady's back.
Yes.
It's possible. Yeah, in terms of the circumstances, why if he wasn't carrying,
why would he run?
As we were saying, dig off him spurred from the scene, as we would have said. You know, it's so unfortunate.
Exit the car fled, and so the taxi man and the student have been detained, and this is from Monday. We have the technology to do some quick enough work. I'm just thinking, because it's a student, it would have been good to very quickly see a report, Camperdown student cleared.
Yeah. Because it
police investigation continues.
Because when they stop the car, hold on, let us not handle it, and let us do what is necessary.
Quickly. And I've heard Peter Champagny, Queen's Counsel, is forever saying that it should be in the law now that certain tests are carried out when weapons are recovered or whatever, because it doesn't seem to be a matter of rote for us to do a variety of things. Just like with the 16-year-old Tivoli student, it's so easy to arrest and charge and create, yes, a blight. It's so easy to just do it, and it like it's nothing. We don't behave as if our children or people have a future beyond what we envisage for them. So, for example,
so I speak about narrative.
Yeah,
there's a narrative that is happening outside of the international, but happening nationally in terms of saying, you stay there.
Yes. We fix them in a spot and that's
don't
it.
Move. You come from. So here's a narrative. Positively.
Yeah.
Mothers of
Yes. Can't be anybody good.
Good, right? So the question that
you have record from year 16.
Yeah. So the question we ask is, and the fourth estate have to be so careful in terms of what they do, because it happened to you. Could happen to me.
Yes.
They put something out there.
When it happened to you, I must assume that it has happened to me.
Yeah.
So I respond to it with the same care and vigor. So I saw that, what happened, and I said, we've got to move to that place now where we're not so quick to create a bad record for these children, because sometimes they can't shake it. If he tries to travel, provided that, it's in the media, whatever.
It's all over. It's on social
media. On social media. It is right.
Fourth estate, the normal. God, remember, social media is the fifth estate.
Yeah. All right. So I saw something in the Observer carried a story of Minister without portfolio in the office of the Prime Minister. It's Homer Davis. I wrote Homer D. Is Davis I'm surname now?
Yeah.
Right.
Was Montego Bay Mayor, and he became Southern St. James MP defeated Walton Small.
All right, so you know the man well. You have his antecedents, as the police would say. If this isn't the... All right, a lot of people say that I am idealistic and impractical, and I take that.
But that's true.
There are many, yes.
So, yeah.
Well, Lord Pastor, you could at least say, who said that?
No, but it is. No, man, we understand. That's what we already know.
We don't know how to take that anyway. I'll take it with a smile.
But it is.
All right, let's not press home the case. Homer Davis has exceeded any condemnation that you could apply to me then as being idealistic and impractical. Homer Davis says there should be a summit between gang leaders and the police. And the police should be saying to the gang leaders, What are you fighting? What you fighting for? What do you need? How can we appease you? What do you think about that?
Well, you know, that was tried again because I was close when it was happening, when a particular individual got
right.
together.
We've got the signal for the break. You can give me the story of this
Summit. That's
summit when we get back.
Welcome to the Ligony Club. This beautiful property is nestled in the heart of New Kingston and is the single largest sporting facility in the English-speaking Caribbean. JD's Urban Pub is our resident restaurant. You can trust them with all your catering requirements. Take advantage of our excellent amenities and allow yourself to be pampered by our courteous and efficient staff in the comfort of our well-appointed and welcoming public spaces. You are being invited to make this your home away from home. Take advantage of our full-service gymnasium. Our 8 tennis courts. Feel free to wander through the gardens and enjoy the relaxing atmosphere of this oasis that remains as charming today as when we first opened our doors in 1910, and our large-size swimming pool. 6 squash courts. In the evenings, relax with us in the lobby bar and lounge. Call or visit us today. We're excited to meet you. The Morning Connection is not your usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on The Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM. chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on the Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM. Usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on the Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM. Morning Connection is not your usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on the Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM.
We're gonna phrase it. Welcome back to the Morning Connection, and thank you for staying with us. I know I see some thing here. Conrad, good morning to you. He says this JLP government will kill you with ads. the good news is that Best FM is getting some of the JLP government ads.
Are you
We
serious?
never used to get them, but I'm hearing more and more of them on our station now. And I think that in terms of, call it public education or public awareness,
That's good.
the ads should be on all of the stations
Public
that have
education.
national
There's
coverage and even community-based coverage. All citizens are entitled to know what it is that the government is up to. Of course, the ads seem to be quite marketing oriented. They're not just informational. Let me see what Conrad's saying. He says, listen to what these ads are selling. Nothing, not helping anyone. I'm a listener, and the ads don't add up. And then he says, Canada is not pushing the cashless system. Yes, because we are busy talking about Jamdex and so on and so forth. But, I find that on that note, I just make one comment and then we'll go back to the substantive topic. As we talk about the cashless system, bringing Jamaica into the digital economy, it is not possible on the quality telecommunications network that we have. We are going to have some level of service or transactions going well in Kingston and the city areas, and the rest of Jamaica will be left out of it. So until that happens, and that is in the hands of the private sector, a whole set of Jamaicans are gonna be outside of it. So
No man, you go into the town center, you have free Wi-Fi, so you can.
so
That's what it's about.
yeah, so I want to pay my taxes of $1,000, and I'm gonna pay $1,500 to go into the town center, so I can use free Wi-Fi.
We say it's in a joke.
Yeah, but that's really what it boils down to. That's what it boils down to. So I'm not at all expectant that some of these things are gonna be realized until we get all Jamaicans connected with the same degree of reliability.
Is it a question of playing to an external piper? Because remember, it should have been coming to place in 2020, the ID 2020. And when they had the constitutional thing, it just pushed back the time frame.
Yeah. Well, yes, you are right. I mean, long ago when we started to talk about legal reform, I was saying to you that the analysis I had done pointed to Jamaica approaching legal reform in a very transactional way, needing to satisfy conditions imposed by external agencies and so on, right? And to show up your position in any number of indices of this or that international community maintains as they dole out the grant aid and the low interest monies and so on and so forth.
So the motivation is not about moving.
Not about our people.
It's about satisfying the external requirements.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Looking good to some very limited market, and the rest of the citizens can go suck salt through a wooden spoon.
We'll eat bulla.
I love bulla, especially if it have ginger. So
We'll eat bulla according to
Well said it, right?
we eat bulla.
Yeah, that twist on Marie Antoinette's let them eat cake. But we were talking about Mr. Davis. I found the report. It's in the Observer. He was speaking on the occasion of some well-heeled private sector member of the Montego Bay community hosting a welcome function for a new police high official who was being transferred from Trelawney to Montego Bay. And here are some of his words. He says, I'm really agonizing over how we intercede with the gangs that are really creating havoc in our space.
Gangs. I think that it was intervene.
Intercede is the word.
Intercede. Okay, they have become gods now. Anyway.
Yeah, because they have the upper hand. You must see that Montego Bay is against the ropes. I have a thought process, Commissioner, addressing Commissioner Clifford Chambers. I think we can, this is Assistant Commissioner. He says, I have a thought process, Commissioner. I think if we can get the combatants, the leaders of these groups, gangs, together, and put them in a space and say, listen, tell me, where are you fighting for? Tell me what you want. What do you need? What can we do to appease you? This is Davis, who is a member of parliament for St. James Southern.
Yeah.
and also a minister without portfolio in the office of the prime minister. He has the ear of our prime minister, and he is having a thought process about negotiating with gang members, persons whom he believes to be criminals, and asking them how we can appease them, how can we satisfy you.
It doesn't work, you know.
Oh, we know that.
International with world wars.
He says, my take on it is that the police have information on all the violence producers in the parish.
So lock them up.
Why don't we start pulling them together, bring them together in a room and say, listen, you are G6, you are G7, or you are 8-7. I am serious. What is the problem? If you have two children in the home that can't live together, don't you pull them together and say, listen, what is the problem? No.
It's the authority.
When you're on a roll, because when you equate gang activity versus lawful citizens being the victims of gang activity to two children in a home, you are legitimizing and showing a level of acceptance that's why you have lost the fight.
You run out of ideas.
That's why you've lost the fight. Because if you really have two children in a home behaving like that, you've lost control of your home. You might as well, as parents, if that's what you are, go find a new home, because the bullying tactic would have worked. And if you put it on a larger scale and say, take Jamaica as a small nation close to America, in every contest with America, it would seem that we're destined to lose. We lose before we start because we are so overwhelmed by their great strength. So when you have a minister of government and a member of parliament already speaking and thinking like that, there's no wonder why Montego Bay, St. James is in that situation. They've lost.
You know, there are things I'd say, but I can't say it here. But I'm just simply saying, who's the authority here? So even if he's using that analogy in terms
the home situation, yes.
I am the father here.
When you speak,
no dog bark. I hear a person say,
yeah, it settle all disputes.
So if you live in this house, you've got to conform to the rules of the house. And the rules of the house is that law and order is what drives everything. The rule of law, as you often say, and justice. So if you have the information that you know who are the persons, like what they did with Al Capone, you can't catch him in the act, where you get all of this money from? Can be done. I've been hearing people saying it for a very long time, and I'm saying that is how you do it, and you deal with the money. And even when our Minister Chang, who incidentally is one of the MPs out of the St. James region, says that 1 billion US comes in
illicit funds.
I'm say that's not a chicken feed, you know. Because we're trying to find out 1 billion US dollar is 156
billion. Would be billion Jamaican.
Yeah, which is a trillion. Money that, and you know you have that information, and you are saying, and you are not putting in the things that will deal with it. Explain to me, please, my dear friend. You are the learned one.
I'm the idealistic and impractical one.
So you take on the name there now. Even though me, the tongue in cheek say that is what you are.
Yeah, the things that I would say, nobody else would. But my view of it is, you don't back down from the principle. Earlier we said, find the principle and be faithful to it, because at the end of the day, that is what's going to bring you your victory. And, you know, I'm saying a lot now because I'm sort of repeating certain themes that come from our discussions, because I do want persons to see the continuity in the line of thinking. Principles are the same as laws of nature, meaning they maintain their integrity wherever you drop it.
I love that.
So whatever situation,
if you believe that is true, it must be able to be applied in any circumstance, any situation. Honesty, integrity, justice. Good God.
Yeah. So then, a principle might hide from you, you know. because as I said, it might be disguised under some different things. But once you do the investigation and tease it out, you can apply that law with accuracy and unerring success. So, for example, you see some things, remember? So there's a saying, which is really a principle, because a lot of our sayings come from these laws.
Yeah, man.
Like you say, the chickens come home to roost.
Yes.
Because chicken always find a roost.
Yeah, because
that is a lot of things. And what you sow, you shall reap. Different formulation of the same thing. So you will see somebody commit a crime, hide from it, go all over the place. Sometimes it's their own mouth indict them on their deathbed.
True.
But the chickens do come home to roost. So you know in how you live and how you conduct yourself, you know that you've got to strive for the highest standards of honesty, integrity, and accountability. Because those principles, the reason why they've made their way into natural justice precepts, why they've worked their way into legislation, why they've worked their way into moral sayings, is because they work, and persons have seen over time that they work. So when you want to be successful in a situation, you simply align yourself to the principle that will bring you success, and then you apply industry and diligence to your efforts so that you can succeed.
True.
Even thing like patient man ride donkey, which may always wonder where that came from.
Think about it.
If you want to do something, accomplish something, you've got to be patient. You've got to know the beast you're riding.
Donkey don't move fast.
But he gets there. And if you know that you're on a donkey and you're going there, so and you've pointed in that direction, he's going to keep moving until he gets you there.
He'll take you there. And he'll probably speak to you if you step out the line too.
Don't we know that? All right. So earlier you were saying, what is a principle or a precedent that we could pull from scripture to address this situation of, well, the Americans say we don't negotiate with terrorists. That's a principle. And the reason it works, even though sometimes I'm pretty sure they do, the reason it works is because a true terrorist is someone whose loyalty is to ideals which would be inimical to your survival, to your interest.
Right.
And if that is so, even when you sit at a table with him, if you arrive at a rapprochement or some uneasy understanding, a truce, I'd like to use French on Thursdays.
Yeah.
I'm just messing about. Yeah, my name is Mine is French.
Okay.
French name. So occasionally I resort to French. But no, if you arrive at a détente. You remember the days when they talked about détente a lot, right? So even if you arrive at a truce or some kind of uneasy compromise, really it means the two of you tired and you want to catch your breath. And so you say, all right, listen, the armies or two armies are weak and tired and you need to catch your breath, I need to catch my breath. Let's have a truce for a little while. Each side is still plotting and planning how to take out the other. Not so?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Always.
And so you don't negotiate with terrorists, because no matter how good the deal might seem when you're at the table, because your interests are diametrically opposed, they will never coincide. Because that is so, that one man's objective is your death. You don't negotiate with him. Nothing good is going to come out of it. All right. Here we are in a society plagued with an overwhelming rate of violence. The cause of the violence seem to be so many studies, but you and I know that mankind is hurting. One, in our relationship with the divine, we have been separated, and some of us are too lazy to take the right path back to reconciliation. But we want to enjoy the benefits of a reconciled life, meaning we want wealth, prosperity, good health, safe communities. We want all the benefits of the Garden of Eden without the work. So we look for shortcuts.
Yeah, we have a mindset that easy does it, a default position.
Yes.
So we just do it, but not understanding that it doesn't work that way.
It's not going to last.
Yeah, that's
It
true.
will not last because you go out and you stick up a man this morning and he has $1 million on him and you take his, like we've seen so many. I mean, oh my God, it's like it's predictable. You're going to hear about more robberies and they're going to be larger sums. So some online thieving go on, $18 million. Some joker tried to blow up an ATM, hurts himself. Beryllium got hit, $20 million. And
I understand that, but anyway, that's just
we're going to talk about beryllium one morning. Western Union, $7 million. There was something else too that was $8 million. But and on it goes. They get more daring and more daring. And do you notice that the more they steal, the more they steal? Because as you take one amount of cash and you do whatever you need to do with it, it's done. And you have to go back and you're more daring and you're more daring and on it goes. Because you are trying to use shortcuts to get to where you need to be. All right, that's the mindset. On the other side now you have law and order. Or let's call it righteousness. Tell me what can be accomplished in a summit between those two where one refuses to submit to the other, because though you call it summit, there's no submission in it. It's equals.
True.
When you have a summit, it's equals sitting at a table to arrive at a position that will assure each other of their survival. In our case, we don't want gangs. We don't want criminal gangs to survive. We want to wipe them out.
That's correct.
And in their case, they don't want to be wiped out. They want to exist. They want to prey on society. They don't want the police to catch them. There is no likelihood of such a summit producing a result.
They never produce anything. And it's interesting.
And there's no trust. Why would I, as a gang member, go sit down in a room with the police to work out how they can control me?
The more you explore the idea, the more stupid it sounds.
Well, thank you that I can add increased stupidity to our subject. But I read it, honestly, Percy, I read it in horror. If you were here when we were making jokes about it, one person said, all right, so the gang leader is going to say, okay, you want murders to come down? All right, then. We'll swap out murder for chain grabbing. How that sound?
Like a better idea, doesn't it?
They say the gun crimes offend you. All right, we're gonna go back to using knife and beatings. I mean, what is that summit going to be? When I want to wipe out your business and you want to do as you please. Listen, man, if you know who the gang leaders are, get the evidence and convict them.
That's what you need to do. If
that's your job.
Yeah, that if you have that information, that you want to bring them to a summit. I wonder if they...
You wonder what the invitation would look like? Calling all gang members. Or maybe we do it by Zoom, just in case they don't trust you to show up in a room. Log on to this. It's nonsense.
Idea.
Yeah. Oh, Conrad is asking if the online schools in Jamaica are up to par with the rest of the world. Some are, some are not. It carries the same inequities that the rest of the society reflect. The good schools have a good online product, good teachers, good connectivity. Students can afford the internet access, and so they have good attendance. The schools where the parents can't afford to keep you online, can't afford the collateral material that you might need, and where the teachers are not as digitally literate as they need to be to keep the students motivated and interested, it's not going well. The homes in which parents can put in arrangements for supervision and where the children will stay focused, it's going well. The homes where the parents have to be out working and the child has to be on their own and don't have proper supervision, hustling, yeah.
Don't work.
It don't work. Right, yeah.
I just made a sacrifice because I wanted to come out in a better situation.
So what's the sacrifice that parent made? Stay home?
whatever it is, even some of the times to go eat out food so we can buy the data.
The data plans, yeah.
That was a major thing when
Right.
this thing just started. But just to go back to what you have said, we do not negotiate with terrorists. If that is a position and you are the authority, you do everything within your power legally to ensure that if you can identify these gang leaders, then you do what is needed in terms of enforcing the law and bringing them to justice. But I think one of the unfortunate things that has happened, that in our country have two different laws.
Yep.
Two different laws.
You made such a big point in the break. I'm going to repeat it before we take the next break, and maybe when you come back, you can speak a bit on it. You spoke about the $1 billion US dollars coming in, and you know it's not coming in into small hands.
Cannot.
And you were saying that part of the problem with our getting a handle on crime is that those highly placed individuals who are in government, in business, and who are masterminding, funding at the heart of the criminality in this country. Some of them, we know them. They're named in the paper with regularity that they have issues with the U.S. government. You see the thing float up every now and then. Yet they continue to enjoy positions of prestige and power. Until we dismantle those strongholds, we will never get the little guy or the 300 gangs or however many gangs.
Because they will see that there is no way to hide or run. No cover for the evil. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's take our break. 7:30. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about our JPS guests, and then we'll flow right into that. Yes.
Best 100 FM is the authentic voice of Jamaica, promoting your prosperity with better vibes and better music. Let us promote your goods and services for you. Advertise with us. For more information, call our office at 876-276-8935. That's 276-8935.
This is your beloved Pastor Percy from the Morning Connection. Support our commitment to Jamaica by joining us on Wednesday mornings at 7:30 when we pray for the nation. Show us you care. Advertise with us. For more information, call our offices at 876-276-8935.
Best 100 FM is the authentic voice of Jamaica, promoting your prosperity with better vibes and better music. Let us promote your goods and services for you. Advertise with us. For more information, call our office at 876-276-8935. That's 276-8935.
This is your beloved Pastor Percy from the Morning Connection. Support our commitment to Jamaica by joining us on Wednesday mornings at 7:30 when we pray for the nation. Show us you care. Advertise with us. For more information, call our offices at 876-276-8935.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. This is the Morning Connection coming to you live from the Ligony Club, where we are hosted by our beloved club family. Remember that the Ligony Club is your go-to place for sporting activities, several different sports, except for football. I've not seen us do much more than a game of scrimmage on the lawn. But squash, tennis, badminton, swimming, if you just want to walk, if you want to use a full-service gymnasium, it's all here at the club, and we have beautiful gardens.
And membership is not too expensive.
And the membership is affordable. And it's now a bastion of blackness.
Bastion of blackness.
Yes, that's what I'm calling it. 'Cause it used to be a bastion of whiteness.
Oh, as
100 years ago.
Earl Brown made the thing online that we should rename Lady Musgrave Road, seeing that we are so much in renaming.
Yes.
To George Steebell Road. Because
Yes.
remember why Lady Musgrave Road was built was because Lady Musgrave, who was the wife of the governor when he had Devon House, said, "What is this?
Should I drive past no black man estate?"
Yeah.
We have to give her own track.
Yeah, so even as we are renaming
Tower Street.
yeah, and all of those places. In that vein, we should rename him, 'cause I think he was one of the first millionaires, black man, in Jamaica, and we need to highlight that in terms of it.
In this whole business of knowing your history and responding to what it requires of you,
It's important.
it is important, and we don't do nearly enough of it. We don't. We would go to India and find a name for a street downtown, and something like Lady Musgrave Road, which is in the vicinity of the Governor General's residence. We
And
would continue, though everybody knows the story that it was a racist white woman who never wanted to. Yeah.
and we have to correct those things. But back to where we started, the $1 billion that the Minister of National Security spoke about. That $1 billion that is coming in is which is related to scamming and the gun trade. That is why they have to be more militant in their approach to those people. We checked to see what the remittances were in 2021, and it was $3.3 billion. So that is what would have come in legally. So I'm wondering,
Legitimate channels.
yeah, so is he saying that the $1 billion this is in addition to the $3.3 billion, this $1 billion is 3.3 plus that, or it is in that 3.3 that is recorded? What do you think?
I think it's in addition. I don't think he could categorize or classify any of the remittance money that come through the known channels, the legitimate channels. I don't think he would call that illicit funds. I think he would be looking at through information. He'd be looking at information uncovered through various investigations.
Okay. That's a whole lot of analysis.
And he would be looking at the value of the hardware that they have knowledge is on the road or whatever. It would be good if he would one day just say how he came to that quantification, or that
because remember,
assessment.
knowledge is power, and that's what we're talking about. Even as we go back to the idea of the summit, if Mr. Davis could put on the table that we should bring all of the gang leaders together,
and there are 300 gangs, he says, 300 active gangs across Jamaica.
That's gone up, it looks like, because some of the gangs have splintered after the incursion.
They had babies.
Yeah, splintered. And that is when places like Vietnam Town place, you have this order, new order, that's Spanish Town, but some of the gangs have splintered. And it is creating even a greater headache for policing, because in some areas, and I remember so vividly, we're doing an intervention with at-risk persons, and one of the guys said to me, "Sir, this is in one constituency," and he said to me, "Sir, if you go join the program, me can't come because me can't cross the border." I said, "Even you can't cross the border." I was so close, we were there, and it was like not even 5 minutes walk for him to go to the other location that we're trying to expand our offering because we had a limitation of space. And they said, me can't go up. They said, me that dead man. And it was in a one community that they had warring factions and you are borderline. And that's a reality in many communities. And that it has even spread out of what we call inner city all over the place now. But then, you know, that thing of not crossing the border or thing is not a new concept to Jamaica, you know. Because if you think about it, if you move into certain communities and people believe you're not of them thing, you see people start moving out because you have brought down the property values in the community. What do you think? Is that something that, I know in America that happens, like you have some communities that previously was only white and a black person moved it, and then you see everybody just moving out because the person has brought down the value of their homes and the fact that you're black, you're not supposed to be here.
I have a friend in one of the Carolinas. I've forgotten which one. Well, there are only two, but
North and South.
yeah.
South.
But I've forgotten where she is. And her property is larger. She has a really nice house on it. And it's right next door to a property owned by a white family, which is smaller with a, you know, lesser appointed house. And her house is worth less than her neighbor's house. Same community.
It's black though.
Because it's black owned. In today's America. That's just an aside. As you were speaking, Pastor, I said, let me look at the Criminal Justice Suppression of Criminal Organizations Act. This is called the anti-gang legislation. Because it struck me that when we can say with confidence that we have 300 gangs active across Jamaica, and we have a piece of legislation that is known as the anti-gang legislation, I was thinking, okay, if you know them, why are they still out there and not, we haven't dealt with them under the legislation? Because, is it because we are protecting their freedom of association, which is under the Constitution? So I said, let me pull up the legislation and actually see what it says. And what it says is that if three or more persons combine, let me tell you, it defines criminal organization. A criminal organization means any gang, group, alliance, network, combination, or other arrangement among three or more persons, whether formally or informally affiliated or organized, or whether or not operating through one or more bodies, corporate or other association, that has as one of its purposes the commission of one or more serious offenses. So, and it has a lot more about, you know, how you can be regarded as being part of a gang. For example, persons who are a part of it participate individually, jointly, or collectively. They issue threats or engage in violent conduct to create fear, intimidate, exert power, or gain influence in communities or other persons in furtherance of unlawful activity, or obtain directly or indirectly a financial or other material benefit. This is the legislation we have, you know. But of course, it does not include any combination that would qualify as a trade union.
Church.
No, it don't exclude church. The only thing it specifically excludes. Why you say church?
No, but because you're more persons come together.
Yeah, but you must have as one of your, the purpose, the commission of one or more serious offense.
And they do.
So if you,
what is a serious offense?
No, well, we know the serious offenses. There's an Offense Against the Persons Act.
Okay. Well,
And then it goes on to say if a part of what you do, if it includes the creating fear, intimidating people, exerting power, influence. Listen to this one, because this one could capture homeowners associations.
it is what it's saying.
It says if you come together to create fear, intimidate, exert power, gain influence in communities, or over other persons, and in furtherance of unlawful activity. So the in furtherance of unlawful activity could, if it's a disjunctive reading of the condition of the provision, it might mean that all these things, creating fear and intimidating people and this, should all be done in furtherance of an unlawful activity. But homeowners associations come together to create fear and intimidate the
maintenance fee. They always fall in arrears, and then
but some of them are formed to deter criminals from infiltrating your community.
Okay.
So a criminal someone who wants to walk through the community uninhibited and scope out your house and so on, could say that when he is confronted by members of the homeowners association, he's been right.
That's tongue in cheek, though.
Yeah, very much so. I don't mean it, but the point is, if you can say that there are 300 gangs, and the law says that people are not to combine in this way, and you know who they are, why are we having such a hard time in even gaining convictions? It says a person shall not form or establish a criminal organization. A person who contravenes that section commits an offense. So if you know that there are 300 gangs,
what are you doing?
What are you doing?
The information that you have.
Yes.
And I tell people all the time.
Is it that you suspect? Are you just labeling people without cause? Are you? If you can list the name of 300 gangs, then you're not doing your work.
That's true, and it raises the question: is it purely hearsay, or is it actual data that has been?
Maybe it's like the adverse trace that I shall be
forever linked to.
Yes, no, but I was gonna say it will be in court later this month.
Okay.
Before the Constitutional Court.
Okay. So that's so interesting. So if you know 300, you have the information. Information. Because yesterday the headline was, while we are finding so many guns, it's because our intelligence.
We're getting intelligence.
So if you have all of that intelligence that you can categorically say as from the office of the Prime Minister, which means you would have collected that information from Ministry of Justice and the powers that be, whoever is on the ground, then act on it. Because it's becoming a major problem. But I think fundamentally at the root of it, we need to change people's heart.
Oh, always.
Yeah, people's hearts need to be changed.
So we were talking about a principle, as you say that. Last point on this issue before we switch to talk about our GPS guest who's gonna join us in a little while. You were looking for a biblical precedent. Do you remember? Because I know you were there. Do you remember when David he had been appointed king of Judah? Judah first, right? And one of Saul's son had been installed as king of Israel. And these gangs, there were two brothers who had their gangs. And they went to visit with the king of Israel, who was Saul's son, had a meeting with him, killed him, cut off his head, brought it to David, where David was. And I guess they were seeking to form an alliance with David.
David said no boss.
David had them killed, executed. He said, how could you think that you could go, kill the man in a bedroom, and bring his head to me, and expect that you would be welcome in my court? You criminal gang trying to form an alliance with a legitimately appointed king of a country? There's no room for you here. He had him executed, and he brought to remembrance how he had treated the soldier who claimed that he was responsible for killing Saul.
Yeah.
He said, did you not know that the man who came here boasting to me that he had killed my enemy, I had him executed? So if we're looking for a precedent, when you have authority, and you are in legitimate control of your situation. No hurry come up gangster can try curry favor with you by seeking to form an alliance. He has nothing that you need because you have the authority and your job is to exercise it.
Because at the bottom line, in terms of what is happening with a lot of the gangs, previously, most of the gangs were politically aligned. So like the trial that is happening with one order versus
the government.
one order is aligned to the JLP allegedly, and
Yeah.
Klansman is aligned to the
PNP.
PNP allegedly.
So Klansman is on trial
Yes. Yeah, we know that. So-
because of JLP time.
yeah, but come on. See, so therefore, and the truth is, if you speak to the people like in the Spanish Town era, they will tell you, even in terms of the extortion that is happening in regards to what at the bus park, it's a multi-million-dollar business every day, you know. And in Spanish Town, you hear people saying, "You're not paying, then okay, you know." So,
But I want you to comment on whether that is an appropriate precedent to handle the situation we're in. The one I gave.
which one of them? So,
David and just now you remember we were searching for a precedent.
David says, "No, I'm the legitimate, but you are not going to ride on my coattails because I'm now in power, and you see where it's going. I'm not.
So is it appropriate? That's what I'm testing. I'm making sure.
No. Just something came up on my phone. That's what happened.
Oh, okay. It sounded like Eden's voice.
It's Eden's voice, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it can't work. It can't work. And David understood it because remember, you know, David was appointed to be king when he was about 17. He never ascended to the throne until he was about 34, somewhere thereabout. And the guys were saying to him, he knew that was so, but Saul was still king.
And Saul too had been legitimately appointed. So you're not trying to step on the other man's shoe.
Say no, and even when it came and he was running for his life, running away from Saul, because Saul understood. He looked down the pipe and he said, that man really going to become king. And he goes after him. Even Saul even took on his son because his son Jonathan was David's friend. And he goes, all right, I'm going to kill him. And then David gets an opportunity.
On more than one occasion.
And they said, no. He is the appointed king. I'm just going to wait because I will not go against what God has set up and delegated authority until the time comes. In terms of the principle of recognize the authority and not ceding it.
Not ceding it.
To people. That's what we're talking about.
Right. And not feeling that because somebody thinks they are doing you a favor, you need to accept them and play their game. So, and the reason I pulled that one and wanted to get your opinion on it is, in Jamaica, we realized that the criminal activity has reached a fever pitch. And for us to be frustrated to the point where, like that member of parliament, we are saying, let us bring them in and find out how we can get them to tone it down. I mean, what on earth would we be giving them to cause them to tone it down? I don't even know. What we would
you say it as a joke still, you know. All right.
What would we say?
The murder rate is out of control. Okay.
Yeah.
Stop committing murder then, but you can grab chain or you can hold up people or so on.
Or we begin to pay them? Is that what we would do? You would leave a bag of money. Do you remember from like Greek mythology, they would tie up a virgin on the rock so the monster could have it?
Yeah.
Which, you know, it's essentially what we're saying. We'll give you something for you to leave us alone. But then the something you give represents a sacrifice of something precious and priceless from your own society. And should anyone even wonder about it, that is what those stories mean when you read about, young girls being left tied to a rock for the monster to eat it so that the community can be kept safe. It means that you pluck a sacrificial lamb, something precious and priceless from your society, would be laid on the altar as a sacrifice so that the rest of the society can be saved. And that's all good and well when you are an old man with no virgin daughters, or when you are an old woman, or when it's not you. But to those who are in the group that from whose homes that sacrifice can be plucked, it is no joking matter.
Because you're giving up more than everybody else.
Thank you.
Like the chicken and the
chicken and the pig with the egg and the bacon.
Yeah. But appeasement does not work. Does not work.
Well, meaning appeasement of criminals don't work.
Right,
because you can appease your partner or your spouse.
No, but if the principles hold true, you appease until you want the money, still not getting what you need.
Appeasement in a respectful relationship has its place. But the thing that exists between victim and prey, or predator and prey, is not a relationship into which you can bring the principle of appeasement. Yeah.
Does not work.
We're in full agreement on that.
Does not work at all. And it has not worked.
Yeah.
If you believe that your principles are right and true, then you don't cede that to anybody. And when you do that, you're ceding the rule of law to elements because you have not effectively understood your authority and walked in it. So now your back is against the wall looking at all of these things. But long term now, so who is the government? Might as well vote for the Dons and the people there and say, okay, you come run it because the government not doing their thing. But we never elected Dons.
Yeah. Perhaps we should. That was just a random.
Yes,
no, the reason I say it is because you know my view. Mm-hmm. The police may call a man a Don, but the man is really a respected elder in the community. Elder, whether in age or just in terms of the respect accorded. Yes. We have a way of demonizing the things that we want to give ourselves a license to eradicate. It is not, I don't accept that everybody that the police label as done is a criminal. And I don't accept that every group that the police call a gang is a criminal organization.
True.
And that's because I no longer trust that what I am fed in the media by the persons in authority and the power brokers, I no longer accept that they are telling us truth. I have the page from Hansard in which Mr. Bunting, while he was now in opposition, but prior to that he had been Minister of National Security, Mr. Bunting said in Parliament that when the JLP administration granted a spectrum license to Carousel, they were granting a license to a criminal organization. Organized crime, he called it. We have to hunt down the page from Hansard to really see that someone who knows, because when he was Minister of National Security, under his administration, the due diligence security checks on the company were completed and other licenses were granted. But while he was standing in Parliament, same people, the only thing that changes, he's no longer minister, he's in opposition, and he was known to be affiliated with one of the carriers through association. When he was standing in that slot, he called us organized crime. So I know that I cannot accept when the government say that man is a criminal, that one is a gang, that one is so and so. I can't accept it as truth.
People say.
Yeah, you can't. So when they say 300 gangs, I have to say, if it's 300 gangs within the meaning of the law, why are they out there on the street or walk up and down? Because you obviously have information.
So 8 o'clock break. So make sure when you speak, you have the facts.
All right, well, we're looking out for our guest when we come back. We hope she'll be here so we can engage with our guest from JPS.
Best 100 FM is the authentic voice of Jamaica, promoting your prosperity with better vibes and better music. Let us promote your goods and services for you. Advertise with us. For more information, call our office at 876-276-8935. That's 276-8935.
This is your beloved Pastor Percy from the Morning Connection. Support our commitment to Jamaica by joining us on Wednesday mornings at 7:30 when we pray for the nation. Show us you care. Advertise with us. For more information, call our offices at 876-276-8935.
Best 100 FM is the authentic voice of Jamaica, promoting your prosperity with better vibes and better music. Let us promote your goods and services for you. Advertise with us. For more information, call our office at 876-276-8935. That's 276-8935.
This is your beloved Pastor Percy from the Morning Connection. Support our commitment to Jamaica by joining us on Wednesday mornings at 7:30 when we pray for the nation. Show us you care. Advertise with us. For more information, call our offices at 876-276-8935.
Welcome to the Ligony Club. This beautiful property is nestled in the heart of New Kingston and is the single largest sporting facility in the English-speaking Caribbean. JD's Urban Pub is our resident restaurant. You can trust them with all your catering requirements. Take advantage of our excellent amenities and allow yourself to be pampered by our courteous and efficient staff in the comfort of our well-appointed and welcoming public spaces. You are being invited to make this your home away from home. Take advantage of our full-service gymnasium. Our 8 tennis courts. Feel free to wander through the gardens and enjoy the relaxing atmosphere of this oasis that remains as charming today as when we first opened our doors in 1910, and our large-size swimming pool. 6 squash courts. In the evenings, relax with us in the lobby bar and lounge. Call or visit us today. We're excited to meet you. The Morning Connection is not your usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on The Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM. The Morning Connection is not your usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on The Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM. Usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on The Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM. Morning Connection is not your usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on The Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM.
Welcome back to the Morning Connection, and thank you for staying with us. A couple of issues exercising our mind at this point. Of course, I closed the last section reflecting on how Mr. Bunting had spoken in the House of Parliament, referring to my company as organized crime. And so certainly making it clear to me that I could not trust what is said and how the descriptors that are applied to our fellow Jamaicans when the government want to stigmatize somebody. They use all kinds of they use all kinds of language. All right, Percival, you're showing me the PTA press release. Why?
No, because it had come up and this was their response in terms of saying that they had been wanting to cancel, but they said they were how much 500.
Come on, read it. Go ahead.
So this was the press release that was sent out by the Jamaica Teaching Council, because somebody had called and says the National Parent Teachers Association is very cognizant of the ongoing debate regarding the Jamaica Teaching Council bill now before Parliament. As the most important stakeholder in this matter, the NPTJ will at the appropriate time make its contribution to this debate. The NPJ will not be induced into making hasty comments on a matter which we consider of extreme importance. We are a fully volunteer organization and are committed to our parents and teachers island-wide. We had previously advised the Ministry of Education and Youth and others that we would need 3 to 6 months to get a response from the over 4,000 schools and over 500,000 parents in all 7 regions to make a meaningful contribution on this bill. Time was not afforded, and we were sent a letter on February 24th to submit a response by March 28th, which was inadequate. We have now got responses from many of our parents and some legal input from parents with legal background that have written to the Commission. Our submission will follow. Right? We are in general agreed on many parts of the bill, but there are some areas of concern, and those we'll address once called upon to present. Involved parents equal better students. So that was their response, and this was sent out on June 3rd, 2022 by the NPG. What do you think about that?
I could hardly hear it. You were not reading loudly at all, and I'm sitting right beside you.
You see
what it said? Yeah.
I thought I was speaking loud enough.
No, sir. No, sir. I think one of the listeners online said when we're outside, it's not loud enough. Yeah, Percival is becomes very discreet. So the PTA are saying they were not afforded sufficient time
because they needed 3 to 6 months in order to meet the 4,000 school and 500,000 parents that are there.
They wanted to do quality consultation on it, and that's not a bad thing at all.
Yeah,
they did not want to be induced into making hasty comments on a matter which is of extreme importance. But you know, the mistake we make when we have these positions, we don't make enough noise about it. The PTA is one of the largest stakeholders in anything to do with education, because guess what? The government is discovering it. If you don't have no students, you don't have no school.
True.
You can talk all you want about teachers and so on and so forth. If you don't have the whole purpose of school is to teach people who don't have the knowledge.
True.
So if you don't have students, you don't have schools. And if the parents are not supporting what you're doing, then God help you. So,
which is a major problem in
this. So if you can't give
a coalition between home and school in terms of what needs to happen. It's raining mangoes again this morning.
You feel like you should just jump up and go on?
No, I'm just wondering if that mango drop in my head. Because I was very close a while ago.
We're not positioned for it to fall in our heads. Yeah, well, it is regrettable that the PTA was not given sufficient time, and they ought to have been strident in their demand for sufficient time. And even now, it is not too late. The truth of the matter is, some of these things, you can almost just kind of dismiss it from polite conversation, because when you pass a law that doesn't have the requisite support, it just stays there and become, something offensive and inconvenient.
Yeah, so it's but I reserve comment because I know of some of the inner workings, but it was sent to me, and I've done them the luxury of ensuring that people understand that yes, they were trying to do something, but 3 to 6 months is a long time. But the teaching.
No, but if they bring it up back again, if they're saying we want to give feedback, but we want to give meaningful feedback by taking it to the streets, something that the government itself, the proponents of the legislation, should have done.
So we talk about education, even in regards to needs. There are so many misunderstandings and misconceptions out there in terms of what it is and what it does. Because our famous call online, who was giving us his experience in East Africa, and he said, it was so funny when he says he thought he was getting NID, but he ended up to go get a voter's ID.
Still useful.
It was useful for him in terms of his experiences and what is happening, what happened to him. But yeah, so that is. But the truth is.
So you don't think what they've said is really fair comment on the situation?
I reserve comment.
Oh, all right. That is like saying, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah,
the truth of the matter is, whether they were lax in giving it sufficient priority, the result of it is a far-reaching piece of legislation is the minutes from, or it has already been passed.
No, I think they were.
It's in the final stages.
Yeah.
Without meaningful input from a significant stakeholder, namely the parents, and that should not be. Should not be.
As a parent, it's parent teachers, so the parents and the teachers are a part of this association.
Yes.
And teachers' input.
And the teachers are not loving the legislation either. And I've noticed that if I were to just kind of, anecdotally pick a position, it would be that the teachers are not liking it.
Yeah.
So they may find very useful ally in the parent body to bring about the changes in the legislation that would make it more meaningful. Everybody seems to be agreed that teachers need, that the industry needs some form of regulation that maintains standards and keep people learning and,
Yeah, but
aiming for the highest levels of performance.
You had said when the debate had started with it, the teachers could do self-regulation without input from external. Do you remember?
Yes. Yeah.
Because but people are seeing it otherwise. So
all right, I want to share with you a little bit of how Jamaicans who don't mind sharing their feelings with the Gleaner are responding to Senator Johnson Smith's announcement that taxpayers are paying for, taxpayers and the Prime Minister, all of them taxpayer, because I don't think the Prime Minister is doing it privately, that they are paying for her campaign.
Some people have commented.
Yes. One person said, why should we be paying to boost the minister's CV? Another one says, I don't think we should object, as it is not just a job. Lots of backdoor stuff needed to land these positions. Question, is she a misanthrope? Hope not. Kente cloth might be vain signal. That's Lambert Brown speaking in deep.
What is that?
I have no idea. I don't know what he's saying, really. He doesn't seem to know what he's saying. Percy says, I don't think we should object, as it is not just a job, suggesting that it is a job that could be beneficial to the country. But if you are looking for some extraordinary benefit, it would mean that she would not be applying principles of natural justice, transparency, and fairness in the execution of her duties.
But remember,
because when she goes there,
Lambert and her has had a run.
Oh yes, that's true. That's true. Anyway, he's saying we should not object. We shouldn't object that we are paying for her campaign. But then he talks about kente cloth. Meaning, remember she had gone to Africa and them wrap her in some garb. Anyway,
Made her a queen.
a queen. One more person says, having listened to commentaries on her bid for the post, I now understand that she's vying for a job that will redound to her benefit only. Being the Secretary General is of no more benefit to Jamaica than it is to the other 50 plus Commonwealth states. Taxpayers' money should not fund her bid.
Well said.
Yes, I agree with that. Somebody will say, why should we bear the cost for a private post? Kiss my teeth.
That's what came in.
KMT, did you know? You didn't know? Kiss my teeth.
The intern tell me about these.
Okay.
Kiss my teeth.
KMT and double TF. You know what double TF is? Something about Facebook.
What is WTF?
Welcome to Facebook. That's a real funny joke. There a man who went and friend his daughter on Facebook, and she posts, my father just tried to friend me on Facebook. WTF. He wanted, so he asked her what it means, and she says, welcome to Facebook.
Oh Lord help us.
I teach Pastor Percy more of the trendy talk. Okay, one other person says, take the advice you all gave the students the other day. That is funny.
You must borrow. Students from Ukraine.
Yes, take the advice you all gave to students the other day. Somebody else says, this is a private job. Why is the public paying for her to look at new work? Make it make sense, please. Somebody else says, she's Jamaica's candidate in the race. She is not acting on an individual personal behalf. She represents Jamaica on behalf of the Jamaican government. You would have to be very narrow-minded to believe she should use her own resource for this. Says, this sound like it's really coming to write that one. That don't sound like no regular citizen.
God have mercy. No man.
That's your father is dead. So that is our parent.
No,
That's somebody.
Let me just say something to you.
Yes.
I find that in Jamaica we're not really after substance, which is why a lot of things happen in our society and people get away with it. Because the 9-day wonder, we don't follow up issues. We're not talking about the substantive things that will move people along in terms of their lives and their livelihood. Matters of just, we're on the top. We don't want to go deep, because the truth is, it is like it's like somebody going in front of a mirror, looking at themselves, their expression, walks away and don't remember what their expression is, as in James.
Yes.
If we truly are gonna change, need to look at the issues that are affecting us as a society and look at it, come up with real solutions and begin to implement them for the long haul. Everything in this country, for most things, it's just, all right, let's do something for the PR, for the Facebook like and so on. And we're not doing real things that are bringing about real long-lasting change in people's life. And I'm saying, okay, yeah, she's a Jamaican and she's Secretary General. How does that impact us in any way? Is she, because she's sitting as Secretary General, only going to be thinking about Jamaica's interests? Or what else? And she's not been a good Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade. She has made so many foul-up. So I'm saying, is she truly going to represent, okay, all right, is she truly going to represent the Commonwealth? Issues of reparations, issues of real justice, or is it just, following the status quo? Time for real change.
Yes.
Time for real
Well,
change.
you know that I don't regard her as a woman with a steel of spine. A spine of steel. A steel spine. any configuration of it. I don't regard her as someone who would step up to any major challenge.
You know, say, and here Vas come out and say, Daz is a days, Vas is in a days. Anyway, treat
Road deaths like crime. You saw it. Well, let me tell you the fullness of what he said.
KMT.
He says, we're in a similar crisis as to what is happening with the murder rate with weapons and guns. I see it and it hurts me because I realize that without law and order and discipline, you are no longer a civil society. Vance theorized that ignorance and illiteracy are root causes of reckless behavior. Who are the illiterate and the ignorant in this society? Where do you find them? If you were to do a random literacy test at all of the checkpoints that the police and the transport authority do, individually and collectively, I guarantee that you will find people with general driver's license that can't spell car or bat. Can't spell cat or bat, the minister said, citing the tabling of the regulations around the new Road Safety Traffic Act by Minister of Transport and Mining and other shot, blah, 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 blah.
How do you fix that?
But listen to me now. Illiteracy in this country is nothing new. It's not anything new. And so, if you were to hold that illiteracy is the cause of fatalities on the road, it would mean we should have been seeing it from the first day that an illiterate man got a license. There are many persons who can barely read or write and they drive safely and carefully because one of the offshoot of illiteracy is fear.
Okay.
When you don't know a thing, you don't want nobody catch you in the wrong because you don't want to be found out.
True.
So I think it is a very rash statement to equate violence on the road or
The person who write the speech.
with illiteracy and ignorance. Ignorance, I hope ignorance is used in the colloquial way. When we say a man ignorant, we say short-tempered.
Yeah,
Ignorance is lack of knowledge.
Yeah, but all right, in ignorancy, which means that people who are literate can be ignorant in the sense that we understand it. But I don't think that's what he's talking about.
Well, him say ignorance and illiteracy. What do you think? You think he's speaking colloquially when he says ignorant? Because we regard short-tempered people as ignorant.
Ignorancy, which means that there's no light there for you. But I agree with it. I don't think he was referring to when we say somebody ignorant, like road rage.
Yeah.
Because he get ignorant and road rage, that is what I think would be. I don't think he was talking to that.
What do you think he's saying? Lack of knowledge or lack of self-control?
Lack of knowledge, not lack of self-control.
But lack of self-control, lack of knowledge don't lead to recklessness.
No, it doesn't.
Lack of knowledge tend to make you very conservative.
And it's like,
Because what you don't know, you don't venture into. But lack of self-control can lead to reckless behavior.
okay.
To me, the real source of what we're seeing on the road is the same source that fuels crime and violence, is corruption, meaning lack of integrity, taking chances when you know you should behave yourself. And if you can wrap it all up under one word, corruption.
Yeah.
There are persons who have licenses that they shouldn't have. They don't pass no tests.
Hey.
Then
Years ago, as we close this, years ago when I was taking my driver's license, and that's about 30 odd years ago, the guy said, want to drive for it or you want to pay for it?
there you go. Corruption. All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back. We're driving down. So it's corruption.
Welcome back to probably my coffee stay right there, so welcome back. Welcome back to our guest this week from the Jamaica Public Service Company, Miss McDonald, who is the manager for
Community renewal.
Community Renewal. Good to see you again, my dear friend. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Good to see you too.
I will not go throw any bombs at you today. All right, we promised you that. You're our friend, so we are not going to throw. And she's smiling. She said
She believes it is what it looks like.
yes, and we're going to be true. So, what good news do you bring this week in terms of what happened? Did you have your draw as you did last week?
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
So, let me not say nothing can give you. So, we can announce. I understand. I hope you can tell us who they are this
The
morning.
winner wants to keep it private.
You will hear that we'll be doing that on Sunday, June 12th. So we'll inform you.
Oh, you tell us before. So, you had the auditors to ensure that what you were doing was correct.
So we have to ensure all of that is before we actually send.
That always surprised me, means that they say under the auspices
Betting, gaming, and lockers commission.
auditors and so on. So you had the pretty girls dancing to do the draw and so on. Oh! Tell me what she said.
She said one pretty girl.
One pretty girl.
Yeah, it was good choice though. They made a good choice. Games of chance. We blame the church. Is the church why we have to police all these things and make it seem like, every
Go up with a Christian gambler. Go ahead.
right, because they're regarding it as a gamble. Is regarded as a game of chance, and therefore it has to be regulated and approved, and so on and so forth. But that is the moralistic side of Jamaica stepping up
Yes.
to slow down progress.
That's how you call it.
Well, I mean, really, JPS is not a lottery company trying to incite people into wasting their money. Yet, any kind of offer which requires persons, weighing the odds, so to speak, is a regulated activity, including these promotions that companies do.
Yeah, a lot of them are.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is an unnecessary.
As to what you get.
Yes, it is a game of
If you have
chance.
the church, Rafi, you have to get permission to do it.
Right.
Well, your church big enough to require it. I can assure you that the churches and schools across Jamaica running them little raffle
I'm going to do that,
are not
I
doing
don't know
it.
about that because that is running now continuously. Raffles and things you need to talk.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think they're widening the net. Something that you should discontinue, they are perpetuating. Anyway, Miss Marlene McDonald holds the very esteemed position of Community Renewal Manager with JPS. Everything about it is wonderful. That public utility company has put some resources into building better relationships at the community level, and the word renewal is especially intriguing to me because it suggests a number of things. Of course, some of our
It's not
communities.
repented.
Yes,
That's what has happened.
It's a big repentance
It's a big
word.
repentance. They have repented. They've changed their mindset, and they said, instead of only going after the people, let's see how we can build a bridge
Yeah.
and make it better for our community.
Thank you. Providing an energy solution for every Jamaican.
Yes, that's what she jump on.
Yeah, that sounds like a tagline, is it?
Yes. It is your tagline?
But powering what matters is our tagline.
Okay, providing an energy solution for every Jamaican.
That's on better.
All right. So the JPS Foundation has a very active partnership with USAID, and you have a project. I'll let you give me the name of the project and just explain what you're seeking to accomplish.
Okay, so good morning to your listeners. So the project with USAID is really to address at-risk youths in terms of training. However, we have dubbed it the name Project Start, giving a fresh start to persons at risk to have some amount of experience in terms of training so they can be better men and women and really contribute for themselves and to the greater Jamaica.
Okay,
So
that's what it's about.
what are the communities across Jamaica? Which communities are involved in it? I see that you're starting with 40 young men and women. Is it 20 men, 20 women, or it's
No, actually,
unevenly?
it's an uneven. It's very, very uneven. It's actually 38 men and 2 women.
You know what? That unevenness I can live with.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can live with that.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
Because the more there's a girl at the thing them to do, man, them and I forget the man done.
Yes.
Well, also more men are at risk. More young men are at risk than young women.
That's what we're realizing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how did you choose your 40, or they kind of rose to the top?
Well, actually.
And did you need the betting, gaming, and lotteries? Sorry.
No. No. So actually, as you would have stated, our partner USAID, they actually have a risk assessment tool. So what would have happened is that there are certain communities that they have identified that they would want us to do this work in, and ta-da! JPS is also doing work in these communities in terms of regularization. So these communities that we're working in for this project, they had identified some communities in the Spanish Town area, St. James, and also Kingston, Clarendon. However, the numbers that we were working with, the 40 youth, we identified communities Quarry Hill, which
St.
is
Catherine.
in St. Catherine, and Clifton, which is in St. Catherine.
Yeah, we know that there.
And we also we're in the west, that's in St. James, Montpelier, and Granville community.
I know Montpelier, you have an orange place there. Remember that, yeah?
Yes, so those are the high-risk communities. And as you'd have asked, so what would have happened, we engaged a peace management initiative in
PMI.
St. J's, the PMI, and also there is a other agency called Youth for Development Network, and also some ambassadors who would have done social programs who went into these communities, identified.
When you say ambassadors, you mean people from other countries?
No, ambassadors as in persons in the communities who want to see their communities improve and grow. So we call them ambassadors. In those
That's wanted the clarification. That's what I was asking. Okay.
So what happened? They would have known these men, and women and young men, and also it's an age group that we targeted between 18 to
25.
Right. So what would have happened? They'd have gone in, identified some young men and women, and a risk assessment was done. So there are several questions that they'll go through, and there is a number that the USAID has assigned, and it's
above that score, you're at risk.
Right, above
Okay.
4.
So USAID pretty much selected them. What is
They gave us a
JPS's
tool.
to select?
Yeah.
Right. So what is your contribution? What's JPS's input?
Well, in terms of the JPS Foundation and the community renewal, well, I'm the project manager for the project, so
Can go bigger money.
that's first and foremost. We are contributing because in terms of our other partners, we would have engaged the other partners outside of the USAID, and the Planning Institute of Jamaica, the GSI Foundation, so JPS and the Heart Foundation.
What's the GSI Foundation?
So the GSI Foundation, would you remember the Good Samaritan Foundation? They're linked to the Good Samaritan Foundation. So if you remember when we had the vaccination blitz, they were very involved, and also they're very involved, I think, the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Okay.
So these are private sector
They're
NGOs.
private sector NGOs. So JPS contribution, as I have stated, is that we have identified these partners. We have also identified the potential trainers, and we would also be giving stipend, meals, and
those things are important, and I can tell you,
mentorship.
with that risk persons, when you say, okay, come, they have a willingness, but then if they are at risk, it means that they don't have the means to access to training or even a basic meal. And it has helped having worked with different, remember I told you what you did down Maxfield in terms of work with those individuals, so that's important.
Yes, yes.
The last time you were here, you did mention providing training to community members so that they could become a part of your, I'm going to say, enforcement.
Okay.
Is this an extension of that? What skills are these young men and two women?
Okay, so there are three skill set areas that we're looking at based on the market and also based on GPS's main goal. So we're looking at solar installation of solar panels, you know, to give them that skill set. Hart would link it to photovoltaic, that's the other name, and also electrical installation is another skill set.
Level 1, 2.
And then we're looking at vegetation management.
Vegetation.
Yeah, so vegetation management.
3 areas that are in alignment with some of your core.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. The introduction of renewables and introducing a lot more green into our energy solutions. Vegetation management must be a big deal because communities, one, need to look good, but also they interfere with the power lines.
Definitely. So that's where it is. So,
Yeah.
so, and this is also to cut down on our outages. So vegetation management is actually engaging persons to be able to have the skill set to manage the excess vegetation that you have on our power lines.
Right.
Okay.
And
Also,
around
by
your homes.
extension, yes, by extension, also the telecommunication system. So it doesn't have to do with just GPS power lines.
Everybody
It just
benefits from it. Yeah.
Flow.
The cable
Cable system.
So one quick. So how long does the program run for? And at the end of the training, will they be certified through Hart or what's happening there?
Definitely. So that's why we had identified these institutions because Hart in itself
Has existing
programs, but Northern Caribbean University will be giving also the main lecturers towards this program, and they will also be giving a certification at the end.
Okay.
So they will have the option also to do the hard test at the end of it, and they'll be certified with the Northern Caribbean University certification.
So, is it as exciting as taking these men and women out to their communities? Maybe they are on a campus. How do they? I'm just seeing it being something that could
that
be
was a request.
that could be
because-
life changing.
Yeah, it was a request also actually from them, you know, that they
Yes.
wanted to
See?
be out of their
I know my people.
Yeah. And yes, it's interesting that you should ask that question because when we were planning the training, we were trying to like get it in Spanish town proper. They said no, we want to go out like we're going university and
Yeah, absolutely. Immediately I saw it. I said that would be great.
Yes, so we had to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really
They insisted on it when you were
yes,
doing it.
yes,
Get them their shirts,
Yeah.
and they're in a lecture theater, and they are
Oh,
taught.
right.
Bring
long,
dignity to it.
Okay, so the entire program runs from January to November. However, the training program in itself will just be 2 months. And then following the training program, we'll be having internship
Internships.
program. So,
So they'll be interning in your offices, or you have other partners for that?
yeah, we have other partners for that. We're spreading it. So, for example, one of the partners identified so far is Fostridge because you know they're into
Electrical,
solar
right.
stuff, and there are also other partners that GPS would have worked with in terms of renewals that we're having discussions with, and we have contractors who actually work on our power systems, and also that's also a mean to see how we could maybe have some future employment for them to be engaged with
Right.
GPS contractors.
So you know, all the radio stations that have towers and you know, outdoor facilities
Vegetation
also have to do vegetation management,
Great.
alternate power supply, and they also have to be mindful of electrical wiring.
Yeah, because
So you should think about
Yes, thank you for that.
Broadcasting Commission, who licenses everybody, and therefore a program like that could really benefit from that kind of support.
Thank you so
I
much.
was thinking in regards to taking them out of the community, putting them in uniform.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
it speaks to what we're saying. It's a holistic program that you're doing. It's not only the skill set.
We boost the morale and
You're
the
looking at
self-esteem.
mindset and so on. And that's important
Yeah.
because one of the things, having been involved.
And you have a graduation.
Yeah,
We are also going to have a graduation
that's
for them.
wonderful, yeah, because one of the things, what I discovered when I used to work in terms of coordinating one of such facilities. You train people, but they couldn't hold on to jobs.
Yes.
And the thing was, then the
Mental.
mindset change, and so we had to put in a life skills component.
Definitely.
In terms of goal setting, money management, that kind of a thing. So when they
That's awesome.
actually were trained, they could keep the work.
Yes, definitely. And that's a part of it too. There is a psychosocial
Element.
element to it, along with mentorship. So they'll also be getting mentors.
Wonderful. So then could I get that work?
You?
Mm.
Well,
Yeah.
she's interviewing you, don't you know?
You can give me for the work.
And you're doing very well, by the way. Let's speak. One of our listeners online from Toronto says, I love this lady. And I think he means the content of your delivery.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Conrad.
Sandra, when I looked on her face, very beautiful lady. Her beauty astounds you.
It astounds you, and you're not easily astounded.
You know the thing.
All right. So, what's great about this program, of course, one of the things that I immediately see in it is if you are taking 40 young Jamaicans or youngish Jamaicans and you are seeking to pour into them quality training, but also that mindset shift, I want to know now, in your selection of trainers, what do you look for? And before you answer, let me just say something else. USAID's involvement in these projects, we know that there is this, what is it? Acculturation is a good word for it. You do have people walking the world trying to
Change. Was change.
trying to bring their culture, their way of thinking into your communities. And sometimes what they're teaching you really is a destruction of your ethnic identity and so on. Education in Jamaica is already under great pressure because neither the students nor the working world believe that the education, the diet we're giving to our children is workable. So when you do your program now, I just want to hear, how are you approaching even the selection of your trainers so that what comes out is really what will be good for the society as well as for the individuals?
Great question. So one of the interesting things is that while USAID is a partner, you would more say that they're like just a financial partner. They really have not inserted themselves into how we execute, but they're just general guidelines. Make sure they're at risk, make sure they get certain things.
And they give you tools.
Yes. So what happens now is that when we were choosing, and it took a long time to choose, but when we were choosing, as you see, because we want to ensure the young men had the skill set, and when you think about at-risk youth, some of them necessarily not come with the 5 CXCs or the 4 CXCs, and so we wanted to ensure that they could do things that they could use their hands. I mean, they could basically make money like that. Even if they're not employed in an organization, they could do that. So that when we were choosing the agency, Heart, as you'd have mentioned, it's choosing the company. Heart, as you'd have mentioned, would have come to mind because of what they do. They're into skills training. And we also know that in terms of focus, you have to take into consideration how long these young men or women will focus. So we also wanted to ensure that although they were getting content, it should be that you could really hold the person,
the method of delivery work for them.
In terms of NCU, for me, persons also want to know that the connotation you're going to a university.
Yes.
So we thought about that prestige coming with it when we engaged the GSI Foundation, because they had that contact with the Northern Caribbean University. They also have contact with other universities, but that was also something that was very critical, which which facilitator could deliver the
Yes,
best for us.
to this
And the
particular group.
interesting thing about it that comes the program, NCU also has a part of the program. They will actually go on NCU campus for a week, live in that dormitory setting
with the other
have that
university
experience.
students.
Yes.
Yeah.
So those that went through our heads in terms of our selection process, and the whole issue of morality. They come with
Values.
and values. They also come with that. So all of that went into our decision.
Yeah, I saw you smile when I was phrasing the question. Now I understand why, because
Yes.
a lot of heart went into
Yes,
creating
yes.
something that would give true value.
Definitely.
You were part of that process as project manager?
Go again.
Were you a part of that process?
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
Yes,
I commend you.
Definitely.
Miss St. Hilda's past student.
I'm surrounded by rubies and the town here.
Please don't joke us. No, that is those are the kinds of elements that kind of I was hoping to pull out, because it sounds as if it's customized to ensure that your 40 get.
Yes.
Now there was a question online earlier. We were talking about the digital environment and the fact that until Jamaica has the type of connectivity that allow us to really deliver a fine product to everybody, and it devolved into a conversation about the cost of online study. You're doing 40 students, and I'm sure you'd be in a position to say what is the per person cost, or the approximate per person cost of this program that you have put together.
Yes. So if without even putting in meals and stuff, just the education delivery, you're looking at about 75,000 per person.
This is 75,000 Jamaican dollars?
Yeah,
Okay.
Jamaican dollars per person, and that does not take into. So that's just really
Without food, lodging, and transportation.
Yeah, without
right.
food, lodging and transportation.
Yeah.
Yes. Per person. For the skills training section,
Right.
there is another figure that we have to pay our facilitators of the life skill training. So,
Right.
so maybe we can add like another 10 or so thousand.
So we'd be at 85.
Yes.
But you're still less than 1,000 US
Yes.
per student.
And it's a shorter course. It means
Condensed.
content.
But you leave with an accredited skill.
Yes, definitely. You
So
definitely.
that actually answers a question that one of the guys asked, because they were saying in Canada you could get you can do a program and be certified and in some trade for $1,000 here. He says you can get a diploma and training for almost any field of practical studies for under $1,000. Is such a thing available? What you're doing can actually be a business. Did I just mention your business plan?
Yes, yes.
It could become, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
because
yes, we're actually, outside of it being a business, for us is really how we can impact the lives of youths. And that's one of the things that our leadership is very, very keen on. Outside of JPS just focusing on the mere technical solutions, how can we impact communities and our youths within our communities? Because education is very, very key for us. And we don't plan to stop with this cohort. We will be looking at other cohorts to see, and also looking at other areas of studies that we could also look at.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're going to upskill.
so this is just the first 40.
Yes,
Yeah.
So it could become 40,000.
yes,
There isn't enough to be said about how laudable such an objective is, because we are concerned about the future, and we're concerned about the current condition of our young people. So obviously, whatever you do to be transformative is very welcome. All right, so I'm going to ask you now, there is in the media.
We're gonna
Time to
prove-
break? Oh, there. I'll finish the question. because I want her to consider it and talk to us when we return. There is in the media some outcry and consternation because 4 days of outages in some parts of Westmoreland, Darling Street, I think, is the name of the place. Persons are complaining, we've lost this, we've lost that. That's nothing new in terms of customers suffering loss when there's a prolonged outage or a really violent disruption of supply. But because you are going into certain communities that have elements of volatility, you must be giving some consideration to how you address situations of loss for these new customers who were previously, if they suffered loss while they were not legitimate on the system, they would just suck it up. But now, if when those situations arise, they might be expecting a different response from the company. I want us to talk a little bit about that and just to understand the mindset as JPS moves into this more involved or engaged relationship with its customers. We're going to take the break, and when we come back, we'll have a slightly different kind of conversation with our guests. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the Morning Connection. Our guest is Miss Marlene McDonald, Community Renewal Manager with JPS, and we've been talking about the Jamaica Start program. JPS is joined by a host of very worthy participants in a program that is probably one of the best of its kind that I've heard of, selecting 40 young men, well, mostly young men, 2 women only of the 40, from communities that have certain sensitivities and providing them with skills training in a very customized and, again, I'm going to use the word sensitive atmosphere and really skillfully done, it seems to me, looking at the individuals, the persons with whom they're dealing, and seeking to meet them where they are and give them a high value accredited skill at the end of a process. That's how I see it. And it sounds really good. But now I had asked Miss McDonald before we took the break to just speak to me a little bit on JPS's current disposition towards some other sensitivities of their customers in areas where typically the homeowners are, perhaps I call it hustling, are doing some kind of business out of their home, selling ice cream, the frozen ice treats. When I was a child, they called them suck. I don't know what they call it now. Anyway, ice treats, the frozen ice treats, and just little businesses that they're running out of their homes, and coming now out of the frustration that's being reported on out of Westmoreland, where 4 days of outage and lost goods and so on, citizens are upset. How would you describe the disposition of JPS in meeting those kinds of complaints? What are the techniques, the tools? How are we seeing this renewed effort to engage with customers in a way that is respectful of their plight?
Okay. All right. So thank you again. Let me also apologize for the inconvenience that the customers would have faced. And it is not JPS's way to have customers being out of supply. We want to ensure persons are on the grid, because when you're on the grid, we collect.
That's when you make,
right? So it's very unfortunate what would have happened in Darling Street. But coming from information that I have is that apparently when reports are made, as you mentioned, the digital age, we usually take the reports via the call center, or you can send a letter, or you can send a email, or report it through our My JPS app. So apparently in this situation, an individual would have reported it, and from our reports, that while JPS was on the way to, when they got the report, while they were on the way to attend to the situation, they were met with
resistance and violence.
So in an effort also to ensure the safety of our teams, they would have retreated. Usually also what we do in that regard, sometimes we would reach out to, if there's a political directorate or the police, to let them know that we have an issue there. And also for the areas where you have the managers, the customer service or the operations manager, they would try to engage. So it is really, really just unfortunate that that happened, but it is our responsibility to respond to calls. We try to respond at least within 6 hours after a call is reported. Apparently there was some breakdown in that report process, and we are really working assiduously to ensure that does not happen again. So that would have been the situation in the Darling
in that community.
Yeah.
Communities where people resort to expressions of violence when things don't work. We're seeing more and more of that. Not just JPS's problem. I mean, we see it if a bridge is broken, if a road is not repaired, if there's no water, if the fire engine don't respond quickly enough.
You want justice.
Yeah, so we're seeing that there's a mood across the country, wholesale, that when our desires are not met promptly, we offer resistance. you're looking at some communities where that disposition is closer to the skin, to the surface of the skin
Anything else?
than elsewhere. Any particular strategies that you're employing? I mean, aside from
Ambassadors.
training and having ambassadors.
Well, definitely. Well, community engagement is like so critical for us. Prior to COVID, you'd have said would have been much more active in terms of the face-to-face, and we're getting back there now. So we would have had community meetings with the community. We actually go into the communities and engage the community. But what we have done in some of these communities, especially where we have active programs, we engage persons that we call them ambassadors, GPS ambassadors. So they're persons that live in the community. We actually pay them.
Ah,
Yeah,
so
we actually engage
they're
them.
paid ambassadors.
We pay, they're paid. We actually pay them just to be that go between
Right.
GPS and us, because they understand the customers. They live there. They understand the community. So they are our touch point. And also we try our best to engage community groups within the community. So what we did, say within the last 2 years, we tried a lot of the Zoom and stuff.
Yes.
You don't really find as much of them coming.
Not
onto
as
that.
responsive.
So we have also a community relation officer that also works along with the ambassador, that we actually go door to door to kind of not have so much of that
Tension.
in terms of the crowding of persons, but
To maintain intimacy and
Yes.
good communication.
right.
Yeah.
But we are opening back up now in terms of our community engagement meetings, the face-to-face ones, maintaining our social distance as much as possible. And we really do that on a regular basis, especially in the areas that we have active projects. For communities that we don't have active projects, we still do some amount of engagement, but with the wider community groups, but we don't necessarily
So it's not
have
as
ambassadors
intense.
in there. It's not as intense.
How would you describe the reaction of residents to the engagement that you conduct? How would you describe it?
It's twofold. Initially, there's resistance. You know.
Come on me out for.
Yes, but because they figure you're coming to look for something. But
Suspicion.
yes, but the reality, what I've noticed with Jamaicans, they want good for their community.
True.
Yes.
That's true. That's a general principle.
Yes, and when you go in and you start that engagement and they see that you have that respect for them, it's amazing. And if there is a disruptor, the persons within the community
You'll
will
save
try
that
to,
one.
will try to get
Take him out of the road.
Yes, so they really welcome the engagement.
So
and you get all. So if you're there, so you have to go there with the answers for everything, because
Yes. At that point, no. Once they engage with you, no, you better be adding value.
And they'll say, so when you and they'll ask, so when you're carrying the other company, when you're carrying the water, when you're carrying,
Yes.
But I'm expecting you.
Listen to me. You
Yes.
don't see where this is going.
yes,
All politicians, JPS is doing a better work than the average politician.
thank you.
That's what I'm hearing. Because our politicians would call us ungovernable and what's the other word that's used for it? We're ungovernable or we're indisciplined, whatever. And some people would write off Jamaicans, especially in those communities where you're working. And that's why I was curious, because I mean, here you are still looking quite refined and not terrified, still in the job. You have not said, JPS, this is too hard for me, because you're having an impact.
Yes.
And we're talking about principles, Percy.
Yeah.
You see, they're using the right strategy, putting in the time, and achieving the result.
And they're beginning to harvest the trees.
Definitely.
Yeah, you are going to reap good fruit from that. I was probing the response, the community response, because I just want to get from you now, as you're in those communities, are you feeling unsafe? Are you feeling vulnerable? Are you feeling like I'm at the end of the world and I need to make sure my will was written?
I'd be able to say what the response be.
Well, let me tell you, it's interesting. When I went the first time I went into one of those communities was after the incursion. the Tivoli incursion.
Oh, long time
And-
ago.
Yes, and that was my, what you said, your baptism.
Baptism of fire.
And interestingly, they were not hostile, but there are times though you meet on hostility, especially the technical teams when they're going to remove the irregular supply. So you will meet on some amount of hostility.
But let's be honest, that is a hostile situation.
Yes. However, but when we go in to have that engagement with them, because we make sure it's a process. So we are going to engage the major stakeholders. So there are times we will tell the security forces that we're
We're
going
going
in.
in.
We'll tell the member of parliament that we're going
Right,
in.
third councillor.
So we have that conversation. So we establish a stakeholder relationship at the onset, and we go, and the dialogue is there. You know, they just
And it's honest.
and it's very honest
Yeah.
It's
and fruitful, and you actually learn, and it also lets you look back on your processes, because they're going to basically
Challenge some of
and they're
those.
just
Yeah.
really clear and upfront with you. But there are times that you will tread lightly. But I see myself, before I'd go in with a police officer, I see myself
Going on your
in
own.
there on my own. And
And they said, Miss,
The JP come.
yes,
they come. And she win some man.
yes. So,
Yeah.
but you still have to operate with caution. But yes,
And be wise.
and be wise. But it's positive in most instances.
Well, people of Jamaica, if JPS can do it, JLP and PNP can do it, UIC can do it, and anybody else who wants to go in and put some honest effort into connecting with Jamaicans, it can be done. I always knew it could be done. And I thank you for sort of like, confirming.
Innovate.
Yeah. All right, let's give her some easy questions now so we can. Those were the hard ones.
I thought our questions were always easy.
One and one.
No, that is because she's exceptionally competent.
Oh, well.
Don't mistake the comfort of the
question.
of the student with the difficulty of the question.
Sentence.
Good students make hard questions look easy.
Still does.
Yes. There goes that. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so, all right, so.
Just thinking of an easy question.
No. I'm just saying that you seem to have a handle in terms of the things that you want to do and getting it done.
We're trying. Yes.
And,
yes.
and your president is supporting you.
Whoa, definitely. That's one of the things that one of his mandate when he came in was social intervention. The president the past couple of presidents, that has been their mandate. They really, because they have also that international experience in terms of how critical social intervention is. And I can definitely say this president and the former, they are
100% behind it.
100% behind.
So you've changed somebody
Yes,
recently.
the present president is Michel Bontois. So he's a man.
Oh,
So he's
Michel.
male. Yeah.
Michel.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll say Mikel.
Yeah.
French.
Michel. He's from out of Belgium. Yeah.
Okay.
So same strain.
Yeah.
Have you been this initiative, even the community renewal desk that you own,
Yeah.
present in other jurisdictions? Are they doing similar work in other countries?
Yes, because we would have done our benchmarking and we would have also gone into other countries to actually.
See what is
they're
happening. Where
doing.
did you go?
I went to Brazil.
I know.
Into the barrios?
Yes.
Fluffy,
So
yeah.
I went to India. Brazil came to us, right?
Right.
So I went to India and I experienced it firsthand in terms of the fact that community engagement. And one of the things that jumped out at me when I went to India is that when we spoke to the persons, they said one of the things that influenced them to stop stealing is that because the persons cared about them so much, so why should I steal?
So they developed a relationship with the company. They felt they were in a
I
relationship.
thought it was on a Jamaican they thief like.
No.
That's an international something.
Same thing with Brazil.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
But I gotta ask you now, describe for me the kind of community you went into in Brazil. Oh, not Brazil, sorry, India.
In India,
Yes. Comparable to what you see in Jamaica, or where did you? What city were you in?
We went to Delhi.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, big
And-
city.
Yes. So, but they have areas that when you look at their housing, you have real property.
So Jamaica looked like
Yes.
a good,
yes.
it's a good
yes. And their programs were similar to the ones that we have now. You would go and there's like a full classroom of children that they're actually having school. You know, you had you went in. They were so intimate. They would actually use like one of the person's houses to teach women to be literate. You know, and one of the things that they said, most of the women, they are at home, so the men go out to work, and you'd find that not much of the women were literate, so they try to change that culture
right there in the community.
right there in the community. And there are things that are interesting that they would have offer a social intervention. So even potable water,
Question.
electric company.
Did you go as based on a USAID initiative, or you went as a power utility company initiative?
Okay, well, we actually went with our partners. This initiative, we were actually sponsored by the World Bank.
World Bank, okay, because that doesn't sound like
yes,
a electrification.
yes, because
project.
we were on the mandate to regularize. We wanted to see how it was done
Right.
places.
Yeah.
So the team that went from Jamaica, the Jamaica Social Investment Fund had representative, because you know they're the social arm
Right.
of the country. We had a member from the Office of the Utility Regulator
Oh, you are
and
someone from water,
JPS.
water and power,
On
or
that
just
trip, no.
power? Just power.
But as I was saying, what was interesting for me is that a utility, there was a community that they didn't have running water,
They did potable
and
water.
they carried in potable water into that community. So you see them with the electrification, yes. So what happened, you know, I would go and buy our bottles of water here.
Yes.
They actually have a car that they set up these water stations, and persons go and they purchase,
purchase water.
Yeah, so that was very interesting for me, with that experience in India.
So on the power company side now, any comparables?
Well, what we realized that their losses was higher than GPS. They were experiencing over 50% in terms of losses. We're at 20 something. And they brought that down through social intervention and emerging technical solutions to under 10%.
Wow.
But it's a process though.
How long did it take
It
them?
took them almost 10 years.
Yeah.
It is a process, and culture change is not overnight, and that is what I have realized. You would have gotten frustrated when you just start the job. I'm like, man, but you have to really stick with it because of culture change.
So how long have you been in that? How long have you been
Well,
in
I
that?
actually started in community renewal in 2015, but I was
so you're halfway there.
exposed to it around in 2012, but more looking at the technical side.
So would you say you're halfway there?
We are halfway there because we go community by community. But there's just so much of them.
Well,
that,
let me ask you a question. You speak about it dropping from 50 to 10%. Was the political director a part of that process?
Well,
that you observe in India?
yes, they were given a mandate by the government that they should invest at least 5% of their earnings to social intervention.
5%?
Yes, yep, their profits, yeah. Yes. So where you have strong support of the government and partnerships, you will see that success. Where you have that strong support, the utilities cannot do it alone.
That's interesting.
Absolutely, and government can't do it alone.
Right.
So that partnership.
That's interesting.
All right. So my last question, we just have like 2 minutes to go in this segment. My last question is, communities across Jamaica or individuals, maybe even NGOs that want to be involved in something that you're doing, is there a way for them to contact you and kind of, you know, persuade their way in, or you have to select them and you have to, how does it work?
Sure, they can contact the JPS Foundation,
Okay.
and they can they can put it in writing to our offices, 6 Knutsford Boulevard. And also, if they go by means of even the JPS call center, we'll get that we'll get that information. So yes, we are really looking to invite partners in our initiatives.
Well, when you say partners, partners suggest some equality of stature. I'm talking about broke-down communities who might have 1 or 2 persons who say, you know what JPS is doing over there, so look good, me want it over here.
Yes,
those are the ones I'm talking about.
Yeah, we will go into, well, for everything you have to assess the situation.
Yeah.
So we would go into it, and the communities will assess, and we'll look at it, and we'll see how best we can assist.
So are there some...
What you're saying is that if you're broke pocket, you have an excellent idea, you can go to the foundation, and through the Committee Urban Renewal Project, you'll move something forward.
We'll work at it, yes.
We'll work at it. That's the promise.
But I really wasn't thinking about wanting the foundation to fund something or to... I'm thinking about communities that might have a high incidence of, unregulated supply, call it that, and they know, could they invite, is there room for that, or does it need to have a certain number of citizens or households, or do you have standards, like you said, we're not going anywhere unless we're getting 100 households, or anything like that? That's my curiosity speaking.
So as I said, you'd have to assess the situation. There are communities that will identify, yes, if you have the greatest amount of losses. But we're into bringing on customers. That is our main goal. So where we can work with the community, we will work with the community. But we also want the support of their political electorate to see how they can also meet us halfway, because JPS would not be in a position to take on all the costs for all the communities at one time, and that is why we're really encouraging partnership as best as possible. But we do encourage persons to write in and contact us, and we will
we'll take it from there.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's an excellent point at which to take a break. It's 9:31. When we come back, I guess we can say our usual generous goodbyes, and then Percy and I can wrap up the day's program. Please stay with us. This is the Morning Connection. We'll be right back.
become so much a part of us.
All right, welcome back. Percy's gonna do goodbye in song for Miss Marilyn. You were warming up during the break, so what happened?
I'm saying it's so hard to say goodbye to you, but it has really been a very interesting, informative discussion on some of the insights that you have shared with us. We really do appreciate it. I know our callers online have been very appreciative of what they have heard and the initiative you have taken in terms of those 40 at-risk young people who, at the end of the process, come out with certification, but beyond being certified, they can use that and make money for themselves. So that's a very important initiative. And then your experience, I thought it was only Jamaica the thief like, but you said, I know it would happen in Brazil and India, but to move from 50% down to 10%, that's significant. So that's your target.
Yes, we're working at it. Well,
you know, I take Percy at his word every time, and my confidence in him just got a big boost because he says it's hard to say goodbye to you, as he was saying goodbye, and then he re-engaged you in conversation. So no one really wants to say goodbye, nor do I, for that matter. And if you're up to it, you could stay and wrap up the show with us. We do have a few more things to talk about. If you feel like talking a little bit about culture, because there's no festival song competition this year. Yes, you look sad.
There is
No festival song competition this year. So, all right. So we're saying goodbye to her, but she looked like she's up to it. So we'll stay and have a little. We have just a few more minutes to go. Online, a number of our listeners are exchanging messages about the current situation. The minister, Miss Babsy Grange, she made all kinds of announcements yesterday. One of them was a warning for men, which I'm going to touch on. But the big one is no festival song this year, because despite 123 submissions, they were all of such poor quality that the committee with responsibility for making the selection advised her, we can't do nothing this year, the song's too bad. Now, I have to wonder what would make the quality so low, considering that these are meant to be artful expressions about the country or patriotism or whatever. What do you think would make for a low quality song? Yeah.
Because
what do you think?
it's in the narrative that they probably wanted it to do. That's what it is.
So that's a political assessment.
It is a political assessment in terms of the narrative.
I think they should publish some of it so we could.
Or some of the people who were a part of it and not tell them, say, no, you're not good.
Not good enough.
They probably call in and say, this is a song, and tell us the rhythm that we think. And say, hey, Jamaicans, what do you think about this song?
Yes, that's true. We should run it online.
Yes, and see how people felt about that. It's a festival song, right? This is the land of my birth.
Yes, and Jamaica never leave you again.
Right.
Yes.
So what, in your opinion, would make for a good festival song? What sentiments should it evoke? What should it be talking about?
Time get a little harder.
So it should.
I don't know what I say.
You learn new things. All right. So a good festival song should offer some authentic commentary on current economic conditions.
Yes.
And time get a little harder. I think that lyric was taken.
Yes, and yes, for me, it's really to see how we can improve Jamaica as a whole, you know, and as
So it should be aspirational.
yes, you know,
Inspirational.
Right?
aspirational.
Yeah.
And just uplifting the culture. I think a lot of time our culture is lost, and we get too foreign minded, you know. So I think we need to go back to.
So it should be in Patois too.
Yes.
Then it should be in the language of the
Definitely.
people. All right.
Definitely.
For festival.
All right. There's a
think
so we're gonna let that trend. No, Eden don't have no height. Can look at Eden's height. She's a runner-up from Miss Saint Anne. And she, so you all know she's short. So even with her hairdo. Okay, so it should be. Let's get it. It should be a commentary on economics, the economic condition. It should be aspirational in terms of our culture and where we want to go. What did you say, Pastor? It should be inspirational, meaning it should be uplifting and want you to reach for some higher ideal of nationalism or patriotism or whatever. It should be culturally on point, spoken in the language of the people. So it should be patois or bad English. I mean, so I'm
say it's not bad English, it's our
well,
language.
no, but some people's patois is just bad English in the sense that that's not right. So with all those things, it makes you wonder what could make an entry substandard. I'm interested.
So if you never figured that they were so bad, you should have commissioned a song then.
Yes, that's what I said. Whoa, I said that too.
Yeah, should have commissioned.
Yes, commission a song. Well, she does say that they're going to, and this is why I think Pastor is right. Pastor said it might have been a political assessment that the songs wasn't saying what fits into the narrative. Oh, beautiful Jamaica, a land of prosperity and green. Maybe no songs came in that vein, and so.
Didn't they give a criteria?
Well, I'm learning about it because it says here that they do workshop training. They're gonna run song workshops over the next 12 months to ensure that the competition returns next year with outstanding entries. This disappointment, she says, comes from a period of tremendous growth of the Jamaica Festival Song Competition, which saw finalists in each of the last 2 years appearing on music streaming services. So, you know what, Percy, you're right. You're right. It wasn't saying the things that maybe bring praise and glory to the political administration. Maybe people are talking the truth.
All that too.
And instead of being uplifting, the songs were sounding more like a funeral dirge. All right. But just to share, there is going to be a festival at Jamaica 60 Village, where for a period of 1 week, they will host Jamaica 60 Independence Village will host a week of activities beginning July 30th, culminating on Independence Day. So now it's going to be a curated independence experience because performers will be recruited for the event.
Feel good festival.
It will be
Feel good festival. Yeah, wrong about feel good, but then that will be with
but where is truth and reality?
Yeah, that's
in all of this.
Yeah.
Like you're going into some communities confronting truth and reality so that you can create a more
Probably I should.
or some of the 40 men and women.
That's an idea. I'm definitely gonna share that with
let
the
them
life
do
skill
something,
trainer,
right?
because they do a lot of sports and activities in the life skills. So
cultural expression.
so
the poetry.
yes, so I will definitely share that.
But you know, Eden is right as well. Those who entered in the competition, the 123, put your music online and let Jamaica decide if what you've submitted was worth the effort.
That'd be interesting, you know.
I'd love to know what the government decry as substandard.
Yeah, because if they did that, you know, and then they get out the whole heap of likes and following and thing, you never know. Like I remember this young man was freestyling at school and somebody picked it up and videotaped it, and then a producer called him and said, let me take that and come into studio with me. So probably somebody should take
and then you're gonna say, and the young man is Chronix. Is it like that? It's not like a famous young man.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna challenge you know, you could start like an IG page and say, post your song entry here. And let's vote on it.
That could be, yeah.
You could. I mean, we have freedom. We have freedom of expression.
Because we
have access to the internet.
It could be a cultural rising. So if there's anybody who's listening to us this morning and you would have submitted an entry, a song typically is you have the hook and then you have the stanza and you have a rhythm that you ride. So the fact that you have gone through workshops.
No things, man.
Yeah, man.
Riding a rhythm?
Yes, man.
Okay.
Bring up your honey if you like me.
Pastor, I think you have a winner. But yes, Jamaicans, come on.
Yeah, man.
You know what a good festival song should be about, and we know that we want truth and reality on the table. If government say the songs are all substandard, let's judge for ourselves. Post your song online and we'll vote.
Yeah, man.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
And we might get a few partners to sponsor it.
Yeah, you never know what could happen.
You never know what can happen. All right, we're at that point. We're going to release Marilyn now. I think we have trespassed on her good graces far enough. Thank you for your input. It sounds like you could do a good festival song. All right.
I'm going to write it and send it to Percy to vet.
Let Percy voice it. Because he's so ready.
But I know somebody as a student. If it's serious, we could put her in teeth and see what happens.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. All right, my dear, walk good.
Thank you
Please
so
do
much.
Make sure you enjoy something from JD's Urban Pub, where you can get every kind of local Jamaican breakfast on this morning. We're gonna wrap up with a few. Come on, Percy, join me. Earl Brown says a good festival song should be about Jamaican food, not imported chicken bones. He said, oh dear. I want to share some of what they're saying. And good morning to Taki, to Conrad, to Delroy, all the UK crew, to Miss Gloria, who has held us up so sweetly on behalf of. She seemed to have her own gang, because it's about three of them.
Yeah.
Gloria, Kevin, and Miss Gloria McGilvery. Aha, that's another Gloria. It sounds like. Okay, the gang of three. Thank you all for joining us this morning, for contributing so beautifully and spiritedly. Ras Asta Black, thanks for asking that question about, well, his question is a little different because he wants to know, do we think that Miss Babsy is disappointed by the substandard quality of or by the absence of the song competition? Really, I think she would be disappointed because she does like a good show.
Yeah, and she's been in culture for such a long time, right?
Yes.
She managed one of the artists was the manager of it.
And one person has said that the absence of the competition really is a signal that the government has failed in some way, because our culture is an important part of it, and when we can't make up a good song. He said this is an indication that the leaders have failed. Think if this was China and the culture minister said that
a bigger issue is.
Yeah. All right. It is really time for us to go.
2 minutes.
Oh, isn't that beautiful? Oh, very well, please. Yes. All right, so let me tell you what's going on behind the scenes. A member of JSIF is in the restaurant at JD's Urban Pub and has been listening.
Oh, Mr. Sweeney.
And the managing director of JSIF and has very kindly consented, no doubt induced by Miss McDonald. to come and just wow. Oh, and you know him, Percival, and as always, Percival know everybody. Hello.
Hey, good to see you. And this is an impromptu thing, but
this is just such a pleasant surprise.
Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome. Well, you have to tell the people who you are. I was trying to whisper it in the microphone through celebrity style.
I'm Sweeney, managing director of JSF.
Who's one of the partners with the program that JPSCO Foundation is doing.
No, that mic on thing was for Pastor Percival.
Okay.
Every now and then he divorced the mic and the producer reunite.
All right,
But
yeah.
I know you're doing very well. So welcome. This is the Morning Connection. Were you listening to us at all?
I was listening to Marilyn online and quite an extensive interview and went quite well though, I thought. I'm glad. I was glad to hear because JPS has been a tremendous partner with us at JSIF as well. Because obviously we are in the same spaces in these vulnerable communities.
Absolutely.
We've done a number of successful interventions with them as partners.
Okay. And you're all over the place, boss.
Yes,
Everything
yes.
going want to do social thing, go to JC.
We try, you know, and just to make a point that rule of law,
Yes.
you know, electricity theft and trying to bring rule of law back into communities. In other words, you can't tell people to stop killing each other, murdering each other, but they're stealing light.
Yes. Right.
So we consider JPS to be an important partner. And I think the program is doing well. Marlene is doing an incredible job. Not because I know her also from JPS, but her team and the entire JPS policy towards more social
engagement
into communities.
with the communities.
Will redound to the benefit of all of us.
I've worked with JSIF in the past, as you know that.
Yes.
But would you be our guest one of the days? Just come and talk about what JSIF is doing around the country.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
Man,
Well, I thought you were going to take the opportunity to invite him to be one of our partners in the 1660.
Yeah, that's possible.
Get him-
Because, I know a lot of the people, Chanel and Mona and those people. So who knows? Probably when he comes and he speaks, we can get him engaged in terms of being a partner. We have a program we call 1660. It's about communities taking responsibility to fix a problem of themselves. So you have a groundswell, and then you pull in the resource that you have in terms of making it happen.
I know you're quite modest gentleman because you know a lot about what we do.
Yes.
And I am aware, and you have also done a lot to partner with us and help us. And so we can talk.
can
at certain
talk.
Oh,
point
well,
we can talk about
you know
this.
that it's being recorded and live streamed, so some people are catching it live.
That's right, that's
the
right.
church as a partner in effecting transformative change in these communities, no doubt with the job you do, you must regard them as an important partner.
Yeah, faith-based solutions
Yes.
is something that is integral in Jamaica. I mean, we are a faith-based society.
Absolutely. Say it again, that some people don't believe.
No, it is the reality, and no intervention can occur without faith.
Effectively without, yes.
If I had to be frank with you, however,
Yes.
I'm Omar, but if I had to be frank,
Be frank, Omar.
if I had to be frank, I think we could do better in the collaboration between faith-based organizations. Sometimes
and the state and the
denominations
engines of
make
state.
us go into silos.
Yes.
And you're in one community.
Right.
And so we need to be.
So at the heart of the 1660 initiative, which is our program, Percival and I launched it on our, we build like that.
Yeah.
We launched it on air. And an integral part of it is pulling together the many churches that are in communities and saying, stand behind the people power with the praying power.
Okay.
And so that's a big part of it. We would be in the background, doing the divine intercession while persons are on the front line doing the practical things in the natural world that can bring about change. And the 60 and 60 is we've been 60 years under our own flag, one community for each year.
Okay.
Just step up and say, we want to do this, and we want to do it in partnership with our faith and with the agencies that
James said.
yes, faith without work is dead.
Yeah.
That's the part of it. Now, someone would like the email address for the JSIF general manager because they sent an email to the info address and got no response.
Okay,
if
great.
persons want to reach you, you could say,
Sweeney.
Sweeney,
As in Omar Sweeney, Sweeney, MD,
and this is NEY.
NEY, yes. MD at jsif.org. That comes directly to my phone, so I will see it.
All right. Okay, I've typed it on as well. OSweeneyMD at jsif.org. So I'm pleased to hear that you are that accessible.
Yes.
Certainly by email.
I'm an of faith. We'll never tell you that, but it's good.
Well, the boldness with which he just came on tells me that he believes in something bigger than just having breakfast. Thank you very much, Omar. You will get your own invitation.
All right, great.
I mean, I can't say
Thanks
how
for
much
having
we
me.
appreciate you just dropping in.
Yes, once again, I just want to give support.
Big up Miss Marilyn.
Yes, big up.
And the work that she's doing. All right.
What a pleasant surprise.
I tell you, we have to thank Marilyn for it. So now Marilyn has been guaranteed a third visit. All right, and to our listeners, on Thursdays it is the start of our weekend, and we're sad to leave you, but we're happy to go. Have a great one, everyone. And thank you to those online, those in studio, and those who are here on site. Thank you to the Ligony Club, to Carmen's Corner, and to JD's Urban Pub for the support they give us in bringing this program to you. We have to thank JPS and Miss Marilyn McDonald for sharing with us what they're doing in those communities. Those communities are the true measure of what we are doing in Jamaica. Really doesn't matter what is happening in Cherry Gardens or where you live again, Percy? Stony Hill or Beverly Hills or those upscale communities.
There's always a community there which is in need of Bulipa support.
Yes, yeah. The communities where Marilyn and Joseph doing their work, that's the heartbeat of Jamaica. If we get it right there, the rest, will fall in line. So thank you all. Have a great weekend, everyone. Your host, Minute and Percy, signing off.
Yes, thank you for being here. It's been an interesting program. Thank you for having us in your homes, in your cars, online. Bless you. Have a wonderful weekend.